lifestyle. Sports cards and we live now. Jeremy Lee in the building and every guest that you ever needed. Sports cards after hours keep the hobby heated. Updates, hobby talk like you never seen it. Sports cards live and none could ever beat it. Sports cards is a lifestyle. Sports cards and we live now. Welcome to another episode of Sports Cards Live with your host, Jeremy Lee.
All right, everybody, what is up? Welcome to episode number 269 of Sports Cards Live. It's Saturday night, May the 24th, 2025. My name is Jeremy Lee. Guys, tomorrow night on the channel, Fanatics Collect weekly auction ending watch party, all sports. It's going to be great. Lots of great cards. And Monday night is the next installment of the Fund Your Cards show. So we're going 3 nights in a row here on the channel. I hope to see you guys here on as many of those as you can make it to. But in the meantime, if you are looking for a grail for your collection, check out Fund Your Cards, the hobby's leading consolidator. They will help you finance the purchase of your grail with your own cards. Visit fundyourcards.com. You'll find their proprietary client platform, which cements them as the leaders in the space. Fundyourcards.com, guys, and Mint Inc. Mint Inc. out of the Greater Toronto area is a leading hobby brand in Canada. Check out their location. Check out their online shopping, shipping, worldwide shipping, live stream, breaks. They do grading, auctions, a ton of things over at Mint Inc. Check out mintinc.ca, guys. And also check out GP Sports for a wide variety of hockey breaks right here on YouTube, streaming every Wednesday and Friday night. Again, GP Sports cards here on YouTube. But if you're looking for a gem mint in sports stats, check out rolling-insights.com. You can check out Ben Hostler from Rolling Insights here on the show about once a month. Guys, they will help you turn your data into an advantage, whether you are doing fantasy sports, you are looking at sports cards, whatever it is. Check out rolling-insights.com today, and then Chronosio. And guys, by the way, these are sponsors of the show. I'm grateful for all of them, and I hope that you guys check them out when you can and when you need to rely on some of these guys. Of course, they all come with my full endorsement. But guys, Chronosio, the ultimate card inventory manager with 90% accurate state-of-the-art auto AI filling. If you sell on eBay, you'll love their fully integrated connection. It's been a trusted part of the eBay community since 2017. Millions of cards have been listed using Chronosio. If you only have 100 cards, it might not be free. But if you have 1,000 or 5,000, even 250,000 cards, there's no contest. Chronosio is the only option for serious collectors. Elevate your management today of the collection. Get started now, home.chronosio.com. And if you want to sell your cards on eBay, but you want the pros to handle it for you, I am a consignment director with Slab Sharks. Reach out to me directly, and I will help you get your cards sold with Slab Sharks on eBay. You can email me at jeremy@slabsharks.com. Guys, also, if you want to insure your collection, check out privatecollectioninsurance.com. They will help you sleep better at night. This show is available wherever you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, anywhere else. Please leave a rating or a review. Subscribe for free. Greatly appreciate that. And welcome again to all of our listeners. And thank you to all of our loyal viewers, listeners, followers, all of you guys for your ongoing support. If you're not yet subscribed to the YouTube channel, take a moment and do so. As always, your comments and your questions are in play tonight. Let's bring on the Hobby Pope from Santa Cruz, California, Mr. Joe Perot. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great, thanks. I don't know if I'm the Pope or the Dalai Lama or some other religious figure, but cardboard. Bless the cardboard.
Bless the cardboard. Bless the hobby. It's quite the hobby. We have NHL and NBA playoffs still going on. Last I checked tonight, the Florida Panthers were beating the Carolina Hurricanes 1-0. Florida's up 2-0 in the series. It kind of doesn't look like it's a fair series over there. Florida's just dominating. Of course, Dallas and Edmonton are tied at 1 game apiece right now going into game 3. What's going on in the NBA playoffs, Joe?
Well, they're back in Minnesota for game 3, and the T-Wolves are opening a can of what on OKC, which is interesting. So I think they're up like 30 points at halftime right now. So I'm going to tape the second half, although maybe the Thunder will make a run. But yeah, I'm hoping they can get back in that series just to make things interesting.
Yeah, it's always exciting. We want exciting. It looks like so much, there's so much excitement behind the Pacers right now. And considering Pascal Siakam used to play for the Raptors, which is Canada's basketball team, I still have a soft spot for Pascal Siakam. And I guess you could say I'm from here on, I'm going to be rooting for those Pacers to win the championship this year, Joe. But I wanted to let people know also, listen, if you haven't heard that I consolidated into a big Joe Jackson card a couple months ago. A bunch of the cards that I am getting out of in order to afford that card just hit the Fanatics Collect weekly auction. And I just want to show you guys some of these because these are some of the toughest cards that I'm letting go. And these are some of the cards that I've owned for 15 plus years. And they are old. They're older than the Joe Jackson card, believe it or not. So I'm going to show you guys what it is here. This is on the Fanatics Collect weekly auction. And if you come down, we have our own little filter now. It's called Fund Your Cards. And Jay Lee, that's me, 1910 and 1911, the C55 and C56 set. I have broken those sets up. And what do we have? 57 of my cards are going to be selling 2 Sundays from now.
Wow.
These are collection for quite some time. If anybody is interested in building out your C55 or C56 set, let me know. Well, they're up there for auction. Anyone can bid on them. But if you have any questions about these cards in particular, I'd be happy to answer any direct questions on them if you wanted to reach out to me or just go ahead and bid. But 57 cards that have been in my personal collection, again, for 15 plus years, are all up for auction right now on the Fanatics Collect platform. And again, we have our own little featured collection here. There, I don't know if you guys can see that. It's pretty small on your screen, but you can see Fund Your Cards, X, Jay Lee, and then the set. So it's exciting, and these are all gone from my collection now.
Exciting and a little painful, I bet. A little painful. Those are nice. Those are beautiful. Those are beautiful cards. I mean, yeah,
it is a little painful. I'm not moving all of them. I kept a few back from my collection. I couldn't just sell them all, but I decided that that's the biggest sacrifice I've had to make are those cards. That was the toughest thing to let go. So check them out if you'd like. Hit me up with any direct questions you guys may have. I was at a date. We have a local card show here in Calgary, Joe. It's once a month, and I was there today at the New Horizons show. I picked up some cards, and I did show them on Instagram already, but I have to show you guys. So baseball.
Oh boy.
And I'll go in chronological order. The first card I picked up, probably my favorite of the 3. My very first 1956 Topps guy. You know how many friends we have that collect 1956 Topps? I've never owned a card. I now have one. The Yogi Berra. It's a PSA 3, you guys. Now, you should know that I get the most joy out of buying like the lowest graded card I can that looks the best. And this is just a beauty of a 3. And it's Yogi, one of my favorite vintage players to collect. It looks like a 6 or better. It's crazy.
Nice.
I love the way PSA grades nowadays because I can go find low grade cards that shoot above their weight class, punch above their weight class, perhaps. The next one, another Yogi Berra, 1961 top. Look at the centering on this PSA 5.5.
Wow.
Just an absolute stunner of a card. And then the last one, a PSA 5, 1966 Topps, Willie Mays, again with a beautiful centering and eye appeal. And when you can buy 5s that looks like 7s or 8s, I mean, talk to me.
Yeah, that one's a bear to find centered, and it frequently has sort of a die cut element to it. So that one looks really nice. And 66 was a great year, in my opinion, a birth year over here.
Oh, there you go. There you go. Yeah, it's exciting. I love buying cards like that. I feel like I'm just getting such great value and such beautiful pieces. So that's a lot of fun. So those are in the collection now. And I also want to let everybody know, if you haven't caught wind of it yet, I'm working with the National Sports Collectors Convention, and I'm doing a series of episodes for them called Road to the National. There are a couple of other content creators that are working with them as well, doing their own series, but I guess we each have our own. I'm doing 6 of those episodes, and 2 of them are up on the YouTube channel so far. 2 others are already ready to go. They will be released in the next one's coming out on the 28th. I want to let you guys know the episode coming on the 28th. My guest for the Road to the National was the president of Upper Deck, Jason Moshra. He's been on the channel before, but he's the top dog at Upper Deck. And he came on and he makes an announcement on the show that I've known about since we recorded it. I can't tell you what it is because I'm under oath not to mention what it is. But he makes an announcement on that episode that we'll be releasing on Tuesday, May the 28th, I think it is. Is that yeah, Tuesday's the 28th. Tuesday, May the 28th. No, the
27th, the
27th.
Wednesday.
Maybe it's the 20. Maybe it's the 29th. I forget which exact day it is. Maybe it's Wednesday the 28th. In any event, that episode is going to be publishing on the Sports Cards Live YouTube channel. And again, Jason Moshra, president of Upper Deck, makes an announcement that I don't think anybody knows. And if they do, they're under oath not to talk about it until then.
Well, I don't know what it is, so I'll
you don't know what it is. No,
I'll be tuning in.
So you might want to check that out. It's and I do know what it is, and I think it's an amazing announcement. So I'm going to pique your interest with that, but that's coming out next Wednesday, I believe it is, and then another episode will come out shortly after that. So check that out, guys. Road to the National Series.
Yeah, you've got 2 in the bag already, right? Dr. Beckett and Greg over at Midlife. I mean, those no slouches there. I've been watching the view count there, and I think Greg has too.
Greg, he has. He sent it to me this morning.
Hey.
I said, you're a popular guy, Greg, and he is a very popular guy. He's got a great channel for sure.
He's got a community.
Joe, what else is going on hobby-wise? We're going to bring, guys, by the way, we got a fun show tonight. We're going to start off with Big Ken from Sports Card Lessons. Then we're going to bring out Aaron from Tropic Collects. Adam Gray is coming on. We've got Chris Hoge coming on. And I think we have a surprise guest who's been a surprise guest before, so maybe not much of a surprise. Josh Adams is probably going to come on, especially if Joe has to leave early tonight. I think we got Josh Adams coming to fill in for you, Joe, if you do duck out a bit early. But what else is going on in the hobby before we bring Big Ken on and get into some discussions with him?
It's a great question. In my own collecting, I've been toggling a little more into the ultra modern, which always makes me hungry for vintage. So I've been kind of coursing through the Walter Johnson T206 yellow portrait cards. I've got a couple Beater Joe versions, and I'm looking to kind of level up, if you will. I'm looking for that, that 2 or that 2.5 that presents like a 5 or 6, and that's what's been on my mind lately.
I noticed 2 of them because tomorrow night I'm going to do the Fanatics Collect Weekly show. There's 2 of the yellow portrait Walter Johnsons on that auction, and I looked at those. So I'll be looking at those tomorrow night during that show. Do
you own either the pitching or the yellow portrait?
Joe, I've never owned a T206 in my life.
What are you? Get out of here. Come on.
Never.
Man.
I've never owned a T.
I'm so disappointed. I'm so disappointed in you.
I'm sorry. I've got some other cards in my collection. I've never owned one of those. I plan to get one of these. Hopefully I'll get my first by the end of the year.
I think the red Cobb is first on your list though, right? Is that my understanding? Yeah,
it's up there, but I'm thinking I might want the green now. Now that I got the Joe Jackson is a red card, I need a green so I can make a nice rainbow. The orange Warren Spahn, the yellow Jackie Robinson. I might need a green to go along with it, right?
You might.
All right, let's see what we got. Tropic Collects is in the chat already. The professor is here. What's going on, Professor? Looking forward to seeing Adam on the show. Laura, good evening to you. Always good to see you. Same with you. Jacob Dahl, Robert Scott is here. Linda's first. What's going down? David Chase. Happy Saturday night to you. And Todd McDonald as well. Ziggy Noah's here, as is Yankees fan. Piccolina the cat. We got Piccolina. Laura's looking forward to Burbank Sports Cards to open up on May the 30th. What's up, Jeff McMahon? Good to see you. James Wynn is hoping for OKC. We got Dan's Vintage Baseball PC in the house with us tonight. Good to see you, Mr. Dan. Yes, Pascal Siakam. SGA is Canadian, but Pascal played for the Raptors. What's up, Mark Santucci? Called shot cards. I see it, Joe. Which way do you want to go, right? Bob Boozle, what's going on? Good to see Rage is in the house, everybody. Quick announcement. Rage is in the house, everybody. Kinger is here. Good to see you. Bob Boozle is back. What's going on, Bob Boozle? Good to see you. The Curmudgeon is here. What's going on, Mr. Curmudgeon? Welcome to the show. Dave Archbell is here from 35,000 feet flying over Cuba tonight. I love it. Last week we had Stephen Ho, or on Thursday we had Stephen Ho flying over the ocean. Now we got Dave Archbell flying over Cuba tonight. Good to see you, Dave. Bob Boozle, Jeremy talking about weight class with my wife typing on my comments. I'm sorry about that, Mrs. Boozle. Dan finishes the 66 Maze is the number one card in the set. Number one, right up there in the corner. Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Dan, for that call out right there. Hey, look at that. Linda's first and you are the same age right there as well. Yes, of course. Prone to rubber bands. Triple V. What's going on? I appreciate the congrats right there for sure. Definitely do. Michael Jordan is leaving UD for Fanatics. Did that get announced? I can't believe that would happen, but hey, maybe it is. Maybe it is. Is the announcement that Upper Deck has finally stopped printing the 89 Griffey? Good one, Dan. Good one right there. No, I don't have a T206 Triple V. I do not. But like we said, we're going to get one of these days for sure. Yes, Tropic, a Honest would be dope, but that's way out of my range. No. We got Mookie Chilson in the house as well. What's up, Mookie? Good to see ya. All right, Joe. What do you think? Let's bring out Big Ken. Big Ken, I see you back there. You ready to go? All right, guys, please welcome Big Ken Carnes to the channel. Ken, good to have you back. How are you?
Man, it's great to be back. Jeremy, Joe, how you guys doing tonight?
Doing good.
Doing great. Doing great. Ken, remind me where you are again?
I am in Connecticut.
Connecticut. Okay. Well, I hope the East Coast time is treating you right. Maybe a little nip of coffee before you came on. I don't know.
A nip of something, but
So listen, guys, I reached out to Ken because and Joe and I talk to Joe about this all the time, but for about 2 months now, late at night after my family goes to bed or after I'm done a show, after every show I do, I go for a walk, and I walk for about an hour, and I walk just under 4 miles. I walk pretty much every day right now. And I talk on the phone as I'm walking, I'm talking to Joe or another friend, or I'm listening to podcasts, or I'm listening to music. But I've been listening to my share of sports card podcasts. And Big Ken's in my rotation. I listened to a couple of his podcasts. I'm like, these are some topics I find really fascinating and interesting. I'm going to invite Big Ken on to talk about them. And that's what brought you here, Big Ken. So good to have you back. Thank you for your content, guys. Check out if you're not listening to his podcast, you can see it right above his head there. Sports Card Lessons. I listen to it on Apple Podcasts. Ken, I'm sure you have a lot of listeners on Apple, don't you?
Yep, absolutely. Anywhere you get a podcast, you can find it.
Yeah, exactly. That's the easy way to say it for all of us that push our content out on the podcast platforms. But before we get into the topics, Ken, maybe tell the people a little bit about, really quick, kind of what's your place in the hobby right now?
Yeah, so I'm a dealer, I'm a collector, I'm a content creator. I set up at a lot of shows. I do a lot of local shows. I travel to shows, and I'm just getting content on all these shows. I set up things that I see in the hobby, experiences that I have. I bring back and I put it together and I put it out to the people, right? I say we're a podcast for the people, right? Whatever is happening in my corner of the world or what I'm doing, I put out there, and I hope people find interest in it. And I think they do. I've been pretty successful so far.
Good job, man. I've been along for the ride with you from the beginning of your content journey. So the one topic that first made me think, I got to talk to Ken about this, because you do a couple podcasts. You do a solo, and then you do one with a couple of partners.
Yep.
And on one of the partner episodes, you guys posed the question to each other, basically, what would you rather do or have? Would you rather have, say, Tom Brady's rookie card? And I don't know which card you mentioned. Maybe you can fill us in. Would you rather have Tom Brady's rookie card, or would you rather attend a Super Bowl game where he wins a championship? And your answer surprised me, Ken. It surprised, and it wasn't that so much the answer that surprised me, was how fast you answered the question. You didn't even have to think about it when your co-host asked you the question. So why don't you set the stage a little bit for us, and what brought up that question in the first place? Because we are sports fans. If you're collecting cards, you're most often a sports fan. At least you were at one time. and you probably like watching and going to games. So what was it that brought up the question on your podcast that led to me hearing your answer and me being, wow, I'm surprised?
So, that's the Hobby Chop podcast. So there's 3 of us, and there's 3 different generations. So what is so great about that, just the 3 of us talking, is we all have different perspectives on everything, just not that question, so many different questions. And we try to put out questions every week of, things people, have never been asked, right? So there's a question right there. And so for the younger guys, they want to be at that Super Bowl. They want to be cheering with all the fans and that type of thing. And I can honestly say I've never been to a Super Bowl. I've been to a lot of professional football games. I've been to a lot of professional sports games. At the end of the day, if I could have something in my hand that showed I was there, whether it be the card of that person or memorabilia, to me, that would be more important to me to have that memorabilia than to actually be at that game. Because it's something that I could have, for the rest of my life. I mean, that game happens to me at my age, right? That game happened one day in the course of this life, right? But if I had that card of that player up on the wall, whether it's graded or signed or something like that, I could sit back and say, I've got this. This is a piece of history, but it's here in my office, or it's here in my wall. And probably the second piece of that, which you may or may not know, like people who listen, they know, I worked 30 years in a prison, right? So working in a prison just does things to you that makes you kind of cringe a little bit when you have to be in a very populated space. So at my age today, when somebody says, would you rather go to this place that's ultimately crowded, or would you, I'm on the other side of that. Like right. In my younger days, I'd be running in, I'd be the first one in front trying to run in. At this part of my life, I'm like, you know what? I know I've seen firsthand how quickly things can turn when you put a lot of people in one place. So in my mind, I'm like, I may not want to be in an area that's full of people.
Yeah, makes sense. I hear you. And, I also like watching sports from the comfort of my own house, big TV, fridge, clean bathroom. I don't have to share with, 1,000 other people. Yeah. I like all those. I like going to sporting events too, though. And, but I feel as I'm getting older, I'm leaning that way. But you had no problem saying, "Oh, give me the card. I will take the card." Joe, what about you? Like, the problem with asking Joe is that I half the time I talk to Joe, he's like, "Well, I got tickets to the Warriors, so I'm going to be I'm going to the Warriors game, so call me later," sort of thing. I know Joe loves going to the games, but Joe, Steph Curry, would you rather own a Steph Curry National Treasures RPA or be in attendance at Game 7 of the championship finals?
I mean, yeah, if you up it to a Curry RPA, then we're kind of in different territory, although the ticket prices have gotten quite exorbitant. I would say that, I feel very blessed to have been at a few sporting events that I wouldn't really trade. I mean, I'm an A's fan, but seeing Jeter do the toss back when, he did that toss against the A's and I don't know if that was the ALCS, seeing the Warriors clinch, at Oracle in, I believe it was 2017 for the first time on their home court, the first time a Bay Area team had clinched since, I think the A's did it in the early 70s. Those are super memories, but overall, I have trended in the direction of my, sort of non-essential resources going into sports cards. And it is partly because you never quite know what you're going to get at a sporting event. And even if you dial it up, there is something to be said, it's an ephemeral experience, whereas the card is something tangible that you can hold on to and sort of stands the test of time, if you will. And that also extends to, even watching sporting events, I'm a little less interested. I mean, I'll sometimes multitask and do hobby stuff while I have a game on in the background. I don't have the same level of focus or attention, but that and a lot of it is going, in the realm of either content or just, dialing down, getting a grading order ready, or, things that are more tactile and more specific to my world, not some external world out there.
Yeah, I hear all the different angles. The chat's lighting it up with a whole bunch of opinions too on what they would do. And it seems like most people are leaning towards owning the card and watching the game somewhere else, which I mean, listen, each to their own, of course, but I'm a little bit surprised that so many people are taking that direction. I am surprised. And also because, I'm also somewhat impressed that everyone's willing to admit it publicly as well, because some people feel like, oh, we're in the hobby, we have to put the hobby ahead of everything. You got to almost justify why you're in the hobby sometimes. And we see people doing that. We see people causing people to do that. So I was a little surprised with the answer that you gave, Ken, but not surprised with how quick you came, because you didn't have to think about it at all. But I mean, for me, I love cards. I love sports too. But the one thing you said, Ken, that I kind of want to push back a bit on was you said, the card I can have forever. The game is a one-day thing. And this isn't just you, it's everybody. But the memory of being there. The greatest sporting event I ever attended was when my favorite hockey player of all time, Teemu Selanne, broke the rookie goals record. I was front row. He scored that goal. I jumped up on top of the boards, leaned over the glass, pumped my fist. I was basically in the play area, and I'll never forget that. Now, he doesn't have it. His rookie card's worth shipping. That's about it. So it doesn't really matter. But I don't think I would trade that memory now. Here we are, 35 years later. I don't think I would trade that memory for any card of his in my collection. Mm-hmm. So, but I was a kid back then. I was 20 or so, right? So but it's an interesting discussion.
Would you do it today?
Today I would probably stay home and take the card. But you know what? That's a different. I mean, listen, I was about to say that's a different scenario, because like he was my all-time favorite player. There's no one even close. So would I want to be there? I mean, sure. But like the interesting thing is that he had no idea I was there. Right? He doesn't care. I'm one of 15,000 people in the stands. Yep. However, last year I had the opportunity to interview him on two separate occasions at two different card shows on the stages. And I told him I was at that game. So now he knows I was there, but it took 35 years for me to let him know. So for him to find out. So, yeah.
So can I just ask a question? So you got to, he was your childhood idol? I mean,
I don't use the word idol. No,
just not idol. You were a true fan, and having the opportunity to interview him and meet him and just talk with him. Would you say that was as equally as rewarding as it was watching him score that goal, or watching him score that goal was more rewarding than meeting him and talking with him and talking to him about that goal and that game?
Yeah, it's a good question, Ken. Thanks for asking it. And I'll say that, no, being at the game was way more exhilarating for me. He's a dude. He's just a guy like you and me. These guys are people. I don't get starstruck by athletes. So, maybe, Michael Jordan, I'd probably be a little bit starstruck with, him and Gretzky. But after that, it's like, these are human beings. And so, but it was really what he brought to the city that I grew up in. We were an underdog city. We never won a thing. We still haven't. They still haven't. So I think I would still rather be at that game than interview him later, but it was nice to sit down and talk to him. And, the second time he remembered me, and it was just, there was no ice breaking necessary. So those were cool experiences. Yep. Yeah, for sure. But let's see what the chat says, because we've had a lot of comments. First of all, Moses Little, welcome to the show, says, love your content, Big Ken. Bill Oakes, what's up, my man Ken? Looks like you brought a few people over. I've never seen these names before, Ken. So thank you for sharing your audience here with us here tonight. David Chase says, I usually listen to vintage card media, but I like Ken's podcast. Great to hear the dealer perspective. Greg from Midlife is here. What's up, Greg? Bob Boozle says, rather watch the Super Bowl at home or at a bar. Give me the card. Mike Petty said, I'd rather spend my Dodgers season ticket money on vintage cards. There's another vote for that. Tropic Collect says the Super Bowl ticket you can have for the rest of your life. So there is the ticket aspect of it. And tickets have become pretty popular to collect. I considered them for a while. They don't do it for me visually. I need more visual aesthetics when I'm collecting a collectible personally. Mike Petty says, I've seen enough. Perfect games, World Series, Stanley Cup win, Lakers win. Don't need it. So he's had his fill. Ziggy No wants to know, how real was the HBO show Oz, which I watched as it was going. I loved that show. Ken, not real?
It was the worst depiction of a prison ever.
But it was super entertaining. Ziggy goes on. He goes on to say, I like Ken's experienced answer. I would sell the card and watch the Super Bowl in luxury. I totally hear that. And Not Funny says, I'll take the card and watch it on TV as well. So a whole bunch of people taking that same position. Ken, are you surprised?
No, and I'm going to say one more thing too, which may surprise people, but when Caitlin Clark played her first WNBA game here in Connecticut, she played the Sun. I actually bought a ticket only to be able to get the actual ticket. I never went to the game. I bought the ticket and I watched the game on TV, and someday when there is a signing, I'm going to have her autograph that ticket for me. But again, I bought the ticket, but stayed home and watched the game.
Right. Yeah. Well, okay, let's go to a few more comments here, because James Wynn changes things up a bit. I like this. What if you take the card, you cannot watch the game? That's a big one, Ken. I mean, now what do? You can't watch the game. You can know the result, but you can't watch it. You still taking the card over the event?
Depends on the event. Yeah.
It makes you think. It makes you think a bit more.
Yeah. I'm probably leaning card for most of it. But it really depends on the event and who's playing. Yeah.
I like that spin though, James. It's a good question. How about you, Joe? You can't watch your Warriors win the NBA championship.
I mean, can I ever watch them? I mean,
no.
like never. Like
not that game.
It goes into the black hole of never. I don't know. That would be tough. I mean, I like box scores. I can glean a lot out of box scores. But if I had access to the box score, I might make an exception. But yeah, that would be tough. It would be tough for sure. Yeah, I don't think I'm taking the card in the example that I gave earlier. I'm probably going to attend and or watch the game. LGC takes the different position. He says, if money is not a factor, attend the game live for sure. Whereas Jacob Dahl says, card for sure. Watching the game at home. Bob Boozle's too old for fun. Linda first says, memories like autographs, they fade. I mean, my memory hasn't faded 35 years later. And and I don't think it will, but I guess you never know. You never know what can happen, right? Mike Petty was at the LA Forum when Wayne Gretzky broke the scoring record. That's a while ago now. And Midlife Greg says, my kids can inherit the card. The memory dies when I do, if not sooner. That's it. That resonates, right? Yeah, that resonates for sure. So, yeah, I thought it was a fun conversation you had, Ken. And again, just surprised how quick you answered. But now that we're talking it through, we're hearing from so many people. Joe, I'm thinking it through. I'm surprised I was so surprised at this point. I think a lot of us, we like cards. We like cards, right? We like sports, but we like cards. Yeah. I like cards. I like the cards more than the sports. How about you, Ken?
Yes, absolutely love the cards more than the sports. And we know the value of the cards too, right? So you were just saying your Timu Solani cards aren't worth the price of shipping, right? But, you know, when we're really talking about the Michael Jordans and the Wayne Gretzky's and, you know, a lot of players like that, we know the values of those cards too. And I think, you know, for a lot of people, like, you know, your last week's episode, $380,000 card, right?
Right.
So for some people, money's no object to buy a card, but for a lot of people, they can't obtain some of those cards, so like a Michael Jordan rookie card, things like that. So those cards really become, more valuable to them than to a lot of other people in the hobby.
Of course. Army ATC, my good buddy Alex, who I haven't seen in person for a while, says, I want experiences. Give me the game. Respect that for sure. M1 Hunter, 110 people watching, 15 thumbs up. Hit the thumbs up, people. Yeah, hit the like now. Hit it on your way out. Whatever you fancy, guys. I appreciate it. Beach Run says Big Ken. Grace says we love Big Ken. Ken, you are popular, buddy. Look at that. I love it. Logan Ward in the house. What's up, Logan? Mark Santucci says we like cards. Yes, sir. We sure do. Foul Ball has made it here. Good evening, Foul Ball. Yeah, I mean, listen, it's a fun discussion, guys. Think about it. Think about it on your own. I mean, it's one of those things where you wonder, because I sometimes wonder, even 45 years into this hobby, Ken, I still wonder, why do I collect these things? Why do I want these little pictures of athletes on cardboard, 2.5 by 3.5 inches wide? Why do I want them? I don't know. Like, I've got some ideas. What, Ken? Why do you listen? You are a dealer. Are you a collector also?
I am.
Why? Why do you crave ownership of cards? And Joe, I'm going to ask you too, but let's start with you, Big Ken.
I think now I've been a collector my whole life of a lot of things and things that I'm passionate about. And I've always been passionate about sports, right? And I've always been passionate about my teams and the players on my teams, and always wanted to own something of those. So, again, I was just talking about people who weren't able to obtain like cards of people they really want to. So I spent most of my life in a position where I wasn't able to obtain those cards. So as I get older in life, right, I look back, I become part of this hobby, and I'm like, I jumped into the hobby, but I'd always been in the hobby, but I just was never a person in the hobby that everybody knew. I bought the cards and I collected them. I never went to card shows. I never, created content. I wasn't doing all this stuff. I was just collecting the cards. And at that time, I didn't know. I just know it felt good and I loved doing it and I loved obtaining it. And thank God for eBay, right? Because I was able to go on there and buy, all the cards I wanted. And then, all of a sudden I get in the hobby and I realize, oh my God, there's so much more. Look at all these cards and all this thing, there's just so much more you could do in the hobby. And now all of a sudden, like a kid in a candy store, right? And all of a sudden I have to decide who is my real PC, because now I want to become a dealer, right? So I have to take my PC cards and they have to be separate from what I'm buying and selling. And I've talked too about, sometimes, and you just did it. You just talked about that. You had these cards for 15 or 20 years, right? And you just put them up for auction because you're moving on to something else. We all do that. We get to a point where like these cards serve their purpose up until this point. They were part of my collection. I loved looking at them. I showed them off. I told people I had them, right? Everything. But now it's time. There's this other card that I really want, right? I'm going to move these cards out. I mean, that's just being in the hobby.
Yeah. And, on that specific topic, why am I willing to move the bulk of those 2 early hockey sets? It's because I kept some of my favorite cards from those sets. And I feel like now I'm going to be able to enjoy those cards more than I did when they were kind of in the box along with all the other cards from the set. I'm going to focus on those cards, enjoy them again more than I have in the past. And that's a bit of my self rationalization for making this move, but I have no regrets. I'm very happy with it. I'm not second guessing anything, but I'm going to miss them, and that's okay. It's okay to move on and miss some cards. Joe, what about you? Like, I mean, we have our friends in the hobby. You talk to them, you spend time with them. Maybe they're local. You have lunch, dinner, you go for drinks, whatever it might be. Joe and I spend a lot of time communicating together. So I'm going to ask him as if I don't know, but I really don't think I do know. Joe, like what's the deep root as to why you find that you want to collect cards here in 2025 still?
It's a massive question. it may be a existential question to some degree, because it may be steadily emerging and shifting from moment to moment. I would say it's a combination of nostalgia. I would say something that emerged for me in the show last week was owning something that you can be proud of, and the consistency of having a collection that you can return to. Sort of, like in the pandemic, that was a big part of it for me. Was like, wow, I kept going back to my cards. And they were there and they were dependable. And I could organize them. I could place them here. Maybe I move some, maybe I acquire some. And then the aesthetics are a part of it for me. I mean, to me, cards are art. So I would say those are kind of a few flashpoints. But yeah, with the Ovechkin last week, the story, the kind of narrative that we heard, this idea that like I didn't have the resources early on. I didn't, the family wasn't necessarily, plush or wealthy. And as, Stephen moved forward in his own life, he was able to do something for himself, maybe above and beyond what might seem reasonable to anybody else in his life, but was, we use the word flex, but I don't even think it's a flex. It's more just like a fulfillment of a dream. And when you love something, it's like acquiring it. There's very few things in life that you can actually, many dreams are transient, if not, impossible to attain. But attaining a card that you've had your sights on, or just a collection that speaks to you, right, directly to your tastes and your sensibilities, I just think there's a lot of kind of empowerment there, strangely enough.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. The fulfillment of a dream. That was an interesting line you just used. And sometimes you don't even know you have the dream. The Joe Jackson, it was a card that wasn't even on my want list because it was a dream I never thought I'd achieve. And then, Fund Your Cards will help me do it. I know them well. They sponsor this show. You see their name on the bottom going past you right now. I'm going to call my guy Mark at Fund Your Cards and see if we can make this happen. And we made it happen. So sometimes you don't even know you have the dream until the dream kind of presents and says, hey, we can do this. Now, Cass99, who's been watching the Fanatics show with me on Sundays and buy some nice cards, has watched Crosby's golden goal live in person, 10 rows from the ice, would not trade that crazy, amazing experience for a Crosby Cup RPA, would not trade it. Like, I get that. That was, I remember exactly where I was when that happened as well, Cass. I was not there, but I was actually on Vancouver Island during that game. Amazing. Orlando from A Collector's Dream, thank you for the update. Florida Panthers up on Carolina 6-2. That is not even a close series, so they're going to sweep them quite easily, I think. Lonely Basement says, I'm not watching a game right now. I'm watching this. He likes the hobby more than the sports, or at least watching. I get it. I do. Dan's Vintage says, both playoff games tonight were blowouts. This is better viewing. We'll take that as a compliment, Dan. I always get to see you in the chat, and thank you for that. Found Treasures is here. DS with a $2 tip to the host and says, you love the relationships you built to give liquidity. So that's not how I look at it. I mean, maybe some of them, but I find like liquidity is there. I think what you're saying is, I think if I interpret this correctly, what DS is saying, the relationships you have might make it easier for you to sell cards down the road. That's what I get by liquidity, but I don't look at it at all like that, DS. But interesting. Hey, it's always good to have good relationships with your customers. Ken can attest to that, right, Ken? I mean, you're at shows, the relationships are important, but do the friendships you've made in the hobby outweigh the relationships that provide you liquidity?
Yeah, the friendships 100% are more important than the deals or the sales that are happening at the table. They're important, to sustain yourself in the hobby, being a dealer and things like that. But the friendships completely outweigh. And I think that's in life too, right? I think that's in life too. The friendships you make in life are really probably the most important thing. They're second to your family.
Right on. Yeah. Bill Oakes here says, cards are like pieces of your past and current life reflections. Oh yeah, 100%. That's that nostalgia piece that Joe mentioned, right, Joe? I mean,
yeah, and I like how Bill words it. That's a poetic, rhythmic kind of reflection there, Bill. Good job.
for sure. He goes on to say, Ken sold me my favorite cards that I will never part ways with, will be passed on to my son. There's a great memory right there. Buying the card from someone you enjoy buying cards for. Dan here says, I bought cards this year that I've dreamed of owning since I was a child 50 years ago. Like, that's why you're collecting, because you have a 50-year dream that he has fulfilled. And now Dan gets to share it with all of his hobby community and friends. I mean, how awesome is that? I love that, Dan. I love that 50-year dream. And now, I watch Dan's videos, and the guy is like, his smile is so big. He can't wait to show the card. He's basically like, he did a video not too long ago where he showed the card before he meant to. He was so excited to show. He was like, oh gosh, I didn't get to surprise you guys.
I just want to underscore one thing Ken said earlier, especially if you were collecting for significant amounts of time before eBay really blew up. eBay changed everything. I mean, it really changed your access to cards that you never would have had the capacity to buy, especially if you were, a little grounded in a particular area that didn't have a whole lot of shows. So I think that is, if you weren't collecting before, it's almost like pre and post internet. It's like eBay was the great wide open to having access to cards that you beforehand may never have even seen before.
Yeah. Yeah. And the prices too. It brought the world so much closer together, and all of a sudden these prices on cards that were outrageous, all of a sudden you could get them anywhere. So it really corrected the prices on a lot of them.
Yeah. DS says he comes back and here he says it is, but to get your price, you really need trust. Yeah. Trust is that I completely agree with and understand, DS. I bought a card today on Facebook, I think it was, or Instagram, wherever it was. And, I said to the guy, look, I trust you, but I don't necessarily trust the mail system. So I'm going to send you PayPal goods, and I'm going to add 3% to what I agreed to pay you, because I don't want you to take the hit. I'll take the hit. And I want protection. She said, yeah, no problem. I trust you that I'm not going to do a false claim, right? Obviously I won't. So, but it's important. That's all important. A few more comments, guys, and then we'll change topics here. Mookie says, my cards are all mini DeLoreans, collectible vehicles that transport me back in time. Yeah. And then Kenny says, Big Ken, I love you, Dad.
That's my son. Yeah.
There you go. We got little Ken here. We got little Ken as well. Tropic Collects will be joining us in about 15 minutes, as relationships and connections are the most important thing. It's not about the money, followers, etc. Those are just extra bonuses. Yeah, that's a great way of putting it, Aaron. Logan Ward says cards are life. Yeah, sports cards is a lifestyle, Logan. That's what I say for sure. So, okay. Billy says, if my shoeless Joe went to zero, would you love that card just the same? If the answer is no, you're in it for the money, just like 90% of the people. I appreciate the comment, Billy, but you're not going to tell me why I'm in it. So I'm going to ignore that comment from here on in. It's a silly comment for the chat tonight. Okay, what else we got here? Okay, let's do it. Let's switch to the other topic, Ken, because there was another one of your podcasts that I was listening to, and I was really into the pod as I was doing my late night walk. And basically it was about staying in your lane, collecting in a lane, changing lanes. And it's another one of those things where, there seems to be some pressure, not pressure, but like an expectation on certain platforms, maybe, where people might look down on you if you start to sell your collection or trade away some cards or whatever it might be. And so before I talk any more about it, Big Ken, I want to hear what were you getting at in that changing lanes or collecting in lanes episode, so that everyone can hear it, and we'll go from there.
So I'm just talking about, for me, when I drive on the highway, I'm always looking ahead, right? I'm always planning what lane I'm going to be in. I'm going to pass. I'm going to do whatever. And I just kind of depicted it to the hobby itself. And what I was really getting at, when you're on the highway driving, it's okay to be in any lane on the highway as long as you're comfortable in that lane. And because you leave that lane doesn't mean you can't get back to it, right? So a lot of times with the hobby is, things are changing all the time in the hobby. And as a collector, right, my PC stays the same. But as a dealer and as a content creator, things have to keep changing. Like you just have to keep up with everything that's going on. And part of what I've done to be successful, and you've heard this all the time in the hobby, where people say, if people are talking about something or people are buying something, it's too late. You've missed it already, right? You needed to be on 6 months ago or 8 months ago or a year ago. So I try to be that person. I try to look ahead and say, what's going to be the next thing? What's going to be who's going to be popular? Like, what does it look like? And what are my reasons for it? And looking ahead to that forces me to change lanes, to try to prepare for what's coming in the hobby, versus being in there and then following everybody to say, oh, this is, Pokemon is now popular. Everybody go to, drop this and go to that. Well, if I would have saw that, I'd have been on it 6 months or a year before it became popular. So that's what I attempt to do is just try to be ahead of it, always looking forward down the road and knowing that even if I change lanes, I can come back to this lane. I've sold cards that I bought back 6 months, the same exact card with the same serial number that I bought back 6 months or a year later. Right. So because at that time it made sense to buy it, but then I'm like, well, I was missing that card a little bit, or maybe I shouldn't have sold that card, or maybe it wasn't the right time, or maybe I just want it back and now I just want to drop it in my PC. Right. This similar thing. It's okay to change lanes and do something different, but you can always come back to where you were.
There's no rules. And just by what you said about how you're trying to get ahead, you're the guy passing me in the lane. You're trying to get ahead to see what's coming so you can warn everybody who's back behind you. The whole stay in your lane sort of sentiment that some people might give others, and some people are giving it, they mean really well. They're trying to give you advice. Someone might say to you, what do you think I should buy, this or that? Or should I start collecting wrestling when all I've ever collected is football? And someone might say, stay in your lane. I say, nah, stay in your lane. That's boring AF. Stay in your lane. Come on. Now, again, if that's where you get your kicks, stay in your lane. I'm not going to ever judge somebody for the way that they collect what they like. Collect what you like. That overrides everything. But if you're curious, if you like more than one sport, you like more than one player, team, whatever it might be, get out of your lane. Yeah. Go be uncomfortable. Consult with some people, take in some content from content creators who you trust, who you think are giving you good advice, who maybe you've liked things that they've liked before. But these lanes are changeable. And you can also, the one piece of advice I might give, Ken, and I want to get your thoughts on this too, is the speed with which you make that lane change. And we had a comment that came in here from Bob Boozle. Says, once you pick a lane, hit the gas 100 miles an hour. And I mean, Bob Boozle's always pretty funny in the chat, but I would caution and say, if you are going to change lanes or drive in 2 lanes at one time, maybe don't just go full throttle at first, because you are maybe going to make a mistake. And by that, I mean, buy something that you wish you didn't buy, a week or 2 later or whatever. So if you're going to change lanes, I think just do it carefully. Use the lessons, the sports card lessons, pun not intended. use the lessons that you learned in your main lane of collecting to make sure that you are as efficient in the second lane or third. And for me, guys, I collect in like 24 different lanes, and I love each of them. And so I couldn't stay in a lane. My lane is a 24 lane highway. That's it. So Ken, why don't you respond to that, and then we'll get Joe's thoughts.
Yes. I mean, if you get on the highway on any car and you get in the fast lane and just put the pedal to the floor, sooner or later that car is going to break down, right? It's not going to be able to handle it. And I think we see that. I think we see that happen to people in the hobby. They get in and they go too fast in one lane. I always say, just, do what you're comfortable in doing. And if it's going like whoever that was, I forget, if it's going 100 miles an hour, if that's where you're most comfortable, then go. But, I caution people to not only, get out of your comfort zone, but rely on your hobby friends around you too. Like, get as much information. When I plan on switching a lane, or I'm thinking this may be the way to go, I have enough people that I start to talk to, and I talk about my idea and say, do I have something here? Am I onto something? And these are my reasons why I'm using my blinker. I'm looking over my shoulder as I'm easing into the next lane. I'm just preparing. And I think, a lot of people in this hobby, we see that don't prepare. And you were just talking about that, Jeremy, buying cards. Maybe they are sorry they purchased. And we see that a lot. I see people make big purchases, and then I see that card for sale, a few weeks or a few months down the road, and maybe the value is down on the card or something like that. So I just say, be prepared and be comfortable in what you're doing. Don't worry about all the other cars around you on the highway and what they're doing, right? Like your mother told you, don't worry about what your friends are doing. Just take care of yourself first. You know what you're comfortable in doing, and stay there.
Joe, what do you think about the lane discussion?
Well, I listened to Big Ken's drop, and I found it really refreshing because, sometimes there is a stigma, like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Now you're doing this. And it's just like, no, we get to do anything we want. We're the captains of our own ship. The sort of counterpoint, or maybe where the metaphor may have emerged from with stay in your lane, you guys spoke to it. You need to be, to some degree, there's a cautionary tale in jumping into something, a market or a lane that you're not familiar with. Maybe you're, going to make a mistake or two, or maybe, if you're lucky, you have friends saying, I wouldn't do that just yet. Why don't you wait a little longer? So I think that lane changing thing sometimes is connected to people getting in over their head, because the sports card collecting market is incredibly complex and it's ever changing. And you really do benefit from time, experience, failure, even to know kind of where you stand in any given transaction or any given moment where you see an opportunity. So, I keep that in mind as I say, take any damn lane you want,
Yeah.
but stay humble in the sense of there needs to be some caution when you are switching lane. Turn your signal on, look in your rear view, check your blind spot, reach out to a friend. But you can go in any lane you want.
100%. You can. Producer Louie from the Hockey Cards Gong Show, welcome to the show. Rock Latex says, stay out of the passing lane if you're driving the speed limit. Oh yeah, could not agree with that more, Rock Latex. Linda's first says, go off road. I like that. That's right. And then we would all define that a little bit differently for ourselves. Chris C says, I'm in the lane of raw cards. No longer will pay PSA 10 prices for anything. More info, 90s and vintage now. My turn signal went from ultra modern to my 2 PC Hall of Fame players. Sounds like Chris C knows exactly what he's doing.
I like that. Yeah.
Dan says you can be a broad collector choosing many lanes, just don't overdo it. Yeah, and I think overdoing it would be a different level for everybody. So just bite off what you can manage, really, is what I think you're saying there. Orlando says, learn the lane before changing. That's like, do your due diligence, do your research, right? Seek out knowledge before you change lanes, which means spending the money on the cards, because, you may make a mistake. So I think that's great. A great comment there from Orlando for sure. Bob Boozle says, that was a marker comment. I'm sorry. We'll come back to that one. And then vintage. This is a whole different topic, but I want to ask you about this one, Ken, because there's been a lot of Caitlin Clark talk lately. Vintage Card says, Ken, are you concerned about so many people moving into the Caitlin Clark lane who don't care about WNBA and probably couldn't name 5 other players? And I think he's asking you because you collect Caitlin Clark. Is that right?
I do. But you have to remember that all those people are bringing money into this space too. So, I mean, I think, one of here's the thing, right? I set up at card shows, and a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years, I don't have the exact timing, but I was the only guy at these shows with a Caitlin Clark cards in my case, right? And they sold so well. I can't go to a card show now, and we're talking about all these people coming in the space where so many people, like almost everybody's got Caitlin Clark cards, and there's more Caitlin Clarks than Michael Jordan. That people have they're sitting next to them, like Michael Jordan rookie card or things like that in their cases. The market, the prices of those cards just keep going up because people are just buying them. They're driving the market up. They're driving the price up on these cards. 2 years ago, I said, oh, this is never going to last. I jumped into that lane. I said, it's never going to last. And it's never stopped. It just continues to go up. I'm happy I jumped into that lane when I did. And I'm still in that lane, with her. And, I've been PCing so many of her cards and selling others.
Yeah.
Do you think, Ken, that Caitlin Clark transcends the WNBA?
I do. I think she's driving the WNBA. We know she's driving the sales. Like even this year, when she's on the road, they've moved a lot of those games to bigger stadiums, so they can sell more tickets, and they're selling out those. So she's bringing the fans, she's filling the seats. So, I can tell you at shows, people come to the card shows that have never been to a card show just to buy a Caitlin Clark card.
Right. And I mean, I guess I'm thinking about it in relation to like all the other WNBA players that are out there, and kind of like the market cap almost of the whole WNBA. And then it's like, is Caitlin Clark within that, or is Caitlin Clark in some other entirely different sector almost in the collecting world that exists? And of course, her career is going to sort of have some bearing on that. But it's interesting the level to which she's become a bit of a cultural icon.
Yeah. So like anything else, you would think once you get a player in a sport that brings that sport up to the next level, that people would go back to the beginning of that and say, let me go back and buy all these original GOATs that played this sport, because that's what people are going to be looking for, right? That just makes sense if you spend time in the hobby. I bought a bunch of collections. I graded a bunch of cards. I put them up in the WNBA, Facebook groups. I put them online. They hardly sell. I mean, I've just taken them all down. They hardly sell. Nobody's interested. It's Caitlin. Now, you have the Cameron Brink and like that draft class from last year. I think a lot of those players, their values now that the season has just got underway, and now Cameron Brink's not playing yet. She was injured last year, but like Camila Cardoso, like players that were drafted last year, you can see their values on their cards where they were selling. And I'm not saying for great money. They were selling for last year anywhere from $5 to $10. They're up now $15, $18, $20, right? On some of those players. To me, it's a steal, because at some point, I think people are going to say, I'm out of the Caitlin Clark lane. I can't afford her anymore, but now I'm going to collect other players that are out there. And I think that's when you're going to see that change, when people are like, do I really want to spend all that money on this one player, when if I spent that money, I could have all these other players. And if it's the sport, right, and if it's what you're watching, it would make sense.
Yeah. Interesting. Caitlin Clark, I think she does transcend the WNBA. I hear a lot of people talking about her. Ziggy makes a good comment here. He says, I can give 2 examples of new collectors that came into the hobby because of their daughter's desire for Caitlin Clark. She is special. So that's really cool, bringing more people into the hobby. And James Wynn says maybe everyone will have V Friends as well. Well, next Saturday on the show, we're having the founder of V Friends join us here on the screen. Gary V will be on the show. We will talk about V Friends because he's doing the V Friends podcast tour right now, but we will also talk about other stuff as well. So, guys, we are going to bring Aaron, who is Tropic Collects, onto the show in just a moment. But I want to, Ken, you're going to stick around. You get to stick around for a bit still. Yeah. Yep. Let's bring Aaron on and let's get his thoughts a bit on changing lanes and Caitlin Clark. And he's a bit of a younger guy. So he's going to tell us a little bit about, the advice he gives other youngsters coming into the hobby to start at BC. Aaron, you ready to come on? All right. I'm getting 2 thumbs up. Let's bring on Aaron, guy. Aaron, welcome to Sports Cars Live. If I understand correctly, young man, this is your first live stream ever?
Yeah, first live talk show / podcast ever.
Well, welcome. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's good to see you. Say hi to Joe. Say hi to Big Ken.
Hey, Joe. Hey, Big Ken.
Hey, Aaron.
What's happening, Aaron?
Not much. How about you?
Having a good Saturday night talking about sports cards. Yeah, let's go.
So, guys, here's the thing. Aaron is somebody that I've run into at card shows, the Sport Card Expo, several years. Even you and your dad have come to the event that I throw at the Toronto Expo. And hey, I thought, let's bring Aaron on. He's a young guy. He's got a ton of energy, loves the hobby. Aaron, let's just start off. Let the audience know a bit about just like I said to Ken earlier, what is your place in the hobby right now? How do you look at yourself in the hobby?
Okay, so first, number one, I look at myself always as a collector. That's number one, because that's what started me into the hobby. I started collecting players that I loved, just players that were doing well, which I thought would just bring my collection to the next level and all that type of stuff. Then I would look at myself as a content creator. Okay. So I make Instagram content and I have a lot of fun with it. It's fun Instagram content. We give away packs to kids. We do a bunch of cool stuff, skits and all that type of stuff too.
Nice. Right on. So collecting and content, that's your thing. Now, can I ask, how old are you, Aaron?
I'm 15.
15 years old, and you're in school still?
Yeah.
You haven't dropped out of high school and started a career yet. You're still going to school. You obviously have classmates and all that. Do other kids in your class, your grade, your school, are they collecting cards, or are you kind of like the odd man out collecting cards at school these days?
Well, to be honest with you, there's a couple kids who I know in my school that do collect, but I'm one of the odd men out in a way because actually, you know what? Greggy Boy's in my school.
Greggy Boy?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Right on. You guys go to the same school?
Yeah.
Oh, hilarious. Another young guy who's a collector and makes some content. So let me ask you this, Aaron, because you were in the backstage, you were listening, you've heard most of the discussion that myself, Joe, and Big Ken have been having. What did you think about changing lanes? And because one of the things that you said you want to talk about was how to start a PC. And let me be honest with you, Aaron. I think a large part of our audience here tonight and on the podcast, they've been doing this a long time, probably longer than you've been alive. So I don't know that they need the advice. Some of them might, but I think we're all still curious on what advice do you give people who are seeking advice from you on how to start a PC?
Okay. So you want to talk about the switching lanes, or do you want to talk about the PC first?
PC. Let's start with PC for this line of discussion.
Okay. So number one, for PC, you always have to collect what you like, what you love. So rather, for me, it's vintage basketball.
Yeah.
I absolutely love vintage basketball because how I started the hobby, let me just give you a little backstory. I used to play NBA 2K, and there's a game mode called My Team in it. So in that, there's a bunch of different cards and stuff, and most of them are vintage players who I've never heard about, to be honest. So I had to learn a lot about these players, which I find interesting because nowadays everyone knows who Luka Doncic is, Stephen Curry, and all that type of stuff. But do you really know about the players back in the 60s and stuff? For example, do you know about let me just grab some cards here.
Sure.
You know about Wes Unseld and all that type of stuff.
Right.
I mean, most people probably don't, my age. I mean, I'm sure people here also know about that, about like these different people. But
Are you kind of using sports cards as a way to learn the history of basketball? Are you trying to learn about these individuals and what they played? Do you research? Do you read Wikipedia? Do you ask AI about them? Are you watching the documentaries? Are you, because listen, I think a lot of us watching right now, and I should mention, I noticed we do have the hobby president in the audience tonight, President Mangini, who has already given you an endorsement, said, "You go, Aaron." But I think guys like the president, John Mangini, all of us who love sports cards, we want to know that there's another generation coming along down the road who are going to become the custodians of these cards after we are.
yeah,
And you know, it's nice. It's refreshing to see a young 15-year-old like yourself who is taking an interest in the vintage. Like Ken, you're at card shows all the time. Do you see 15-year-olds asking you about vintage or at the table next to you even?
No, they're all about the ultra modern, right? Just quick flips.
So Aaron, how do you find people to talk to about? You're going to the card shows, you're making content, consuming content. How are you really enjoying yourself being a vintage guy at 15 years old?
I mean, honestly, I've been listening to a lot of like vintage podcasts, like Boston Card Hunter with his Sports Card Madness. And I'm going to listen to Sports Card Lessons podcast because it sounds interesting. I've never really heard of it, to be honest, before this, but it sounds interesting, but based on like what I heard from this Sports Card Live for tonight.
What you've heard from Big Ken already, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so what advice do you give a kid now who's coming to you and saying, hey, like, let's say you were talking about cards at school and someone overheard and said, oh, you know, my uncle collects cards. What do you recommend, Aaron? Like, what are you going to tell them?
I mean, just collect stuff that you know about or you want to know about, or stuff that you just absolutely love. Like, for example, I know a bunch of people like here in Toronto, they like to collect the Raptors because that's their home team. Like anything Raptors, they would buy, or like any specific team, any specific player. Maybe there's a player that really resonates with them. For me, for modern, it is Delano Banton. I'm not sure many people have heard of him.
It's okay. Keep going. You're good.
He's born in Rexdale, Toronto.
Okay.
And then ever since he got drafted, I've always had like a feel to him and I've always loved him. And then last summer, I've had the chance actually to meet him at a Rexdale Community Center.
Oh, very cool.
And we spoke and I told him about my hobby and he loves it. And then he gave me a follow. And then that was just a cool little interaction with him.
Right on. You love being at card shows too. I've seen you at the expo several years now. What do you like most about being at the card shows, Aaron?
I mean, just the connections, the different types of people that you could see. So you could see people from like, even at the expo, let's just say. The expo, you have people coming from the States. You have people coming from Hawaii. You have people coming from all over the world, China, Taiwan. And like, that is just like, there we go, Jordan Smith. In the chat.
Yeah, he's speaking to this comment right here. You're getting a lot of love in the chat already, Aaron, more than I can even keep up with already. Triple V saying hello to you. Ziggy No says thumbs up, young man. Jordan Smith right there. I like this kid already. Orlando, a collector's dream, says, welcome, Aaron. First live and the best live stream on YouTube. Thank you, Orlando.
Thank you.
Now, Ziggy No, actually, Aaron, Ziggy No gives us some questions to ask you. What would Aaron like? What would you like to see in the hobby? What would you improve? How would you grow the hobby? Let's do those questions. I took them off so we could see your face again, but
okay,
talk through those, Aaron.
How would I grow the hobby? So, like, do you want like an answer? Like, if I was Michael Rubin or if I was like the owner of Panini, what would I do?
Sure.
Okay. So if I was like the owner of Panini or Fanatics or something like that, I would obviously completely get rid of sticker autos.
That's a great comment. I have a no sticker auto policy for my collection, so I'm with you on that. I've already done that for myself. What else? What else would you do? How would you grow the hobby? How would you get more kids your age involved?
I would offer like some type of way to get them involved. So like even at shops, giving away free packs to kids. I know they do it on Topps trade day or whatever, Topps Hobby Rip Night. They do it on hockey card day, all that type of stuff with Upper Deck. And like, I would do more of that type of stuff. Then another thing I would do is I would offer cheaper boxes, cheaper prices for packs, because honestly, as a kid, I haven't ripped too much. And I know back in the days, you were able to get a pack of like 86 Fleer for like $2.
Even cheaper back in the early day, in the original day. Yeah. Do you
think they sat on the shelves?
They did. And now you can't buy them for 25 cents anymore. So you think do you feel then, Aaron, that the price point is keeping a lot of young kids out of the hobby?
For sure.
Yeah. And I mean, even though there are entry level products, I've said before, well, listen, I can't drive a Ferrari. I got to drive the car that I can afford to drive. Same thing applies to sports cars. I can't afford to buy cases of exquisite, but maybe I can afford, Topps flagship, for example. Why isn't that a solution, Aaron? Why can't kids your age just buy the cheaper products? And I mean, Ken, you probably have insight into this because you're talking to people all the time at the shows. Let's hear Aaron. Then I want you to listen to this, Ken, and then get your thoughts. Aaron, like, why can't kids your age or aren't they happy with buying MVP hockey or OPC or, basic Prism cards? I don't even know if there's an entry level basketball product anymore. It's also expensive over there in the Panini side of things, I think. But why not? Why not, Aaron?
I mean, like the most probably entry level basketball product is Chronicles, which is a great product, but it just doesn't have the upside. Like you can't pull a Downtown, you can't pull a Kaboom, you can't pull anything that's really good. Best thing you could pull is some of the top rookies, which is good, but like they don't really hold much value, so there's not upside on it.
So it comes down to the value. You're talking about value and finding those big hits, and that's always kind of been what I've thought the problem is the young people, they see the nicer cards and that's what they want. Ken, what about you? Like, what are you seeing? Is it as simple as the young kids, they can't afford it, but they want what they can't afford. So they don't want what they don't want what they can't afford. They want what they can't afford.
The whole wax system in the hobby is broken. I mean, it's broken. I don't even know how they would fix it, but they put the retail products out at Target and Walmart, and there's people waiting in the store. There's stuff's going out the back door. People are buying all off the shelves. They know the minute it's being put on the shelves, and then they're 2xing, 3xing the value of the product, and they're selling it. So they've completely just pushed the kids completely out of the hobby. Where he was just saying, I heard, he would love to go into the store and spend $2 or even $5 or $10 on something where maybe he could possibly get a decent card out of. And the problem is the value packs, the things that are the most cheapest that nobody's clearing the shelves to 2x or 3x their money on. The kids are opening these and they're pulling the cards out, and the cards aren't even worth the $3 or the $5 that when they're getting the cards out of the packs. So the system is broken. I can tell you, I love, and if you listen to the podcast, you hear me, I rip and wax all the time. I can hardly afford to rip it, right? When I'm sitting here saying, okay, I can only buy 5 of those this week because it's costing me like, blaster boxes. You're buying 5 blaster boxes and it's like $250 or $300 US, right? It's how do they expect a 15-year-old kid to be able to afford that stuff? It just, to me, it's not only broken for the kids, but it's broken for most people in the hobby, where it's just demanding more and more and more money.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of these sort of chicken or egg kind of things, right? Because we want people to collect and not worry about the value of the cards, but when you can't afford them because of the value of the unopened product, how can you not look at the value of the cards? And then if you're going to go buy a pack of cards as a kid for $5, $10, or $20 or $100, and you're going to get nothing of value. I mean, the world is a place where within 3 seconds you can find out what your cards are worth if you want to. Aaron, do you have any interest at all in getting a binder with 9 pocket pages and having a base set of any sport from any year and having all the players represented from the set? Does that excite you as a collector right now?
Yeah, to be honest with you, I actually have a full set of 86 Fleer.
Okay, good.
Just sitting on there. Here's the Jordan right here. I had it just right beside me.
Congratulations on that. But
Yeah.
go fast forward 35
like
years.
today.
40, yeah, like 2025, Upper Deck flagship hockey, Tops baseball, Prism basketball, whatever it might be. Do you have any interest in owning a complete set from 2025 of any sport, any product that is affordable?
No, not really, because it's all junk wax pretty much.
See, so right. I mean, that's the thing. It's like collecting has changed, guys, from when all of us 40, 50, 60-year-olds were growing up in the 70s, 80s, 90s, whenever. Collecting was different. It was different then than it is now. The kids, it's a different generation. So I almost think it's kind of silly for us to make some of these have these desires still to be like, well, collect, no one collects anymore. I mean, so what? If you really think no one collects anymore, so what? I'm saying that to be a little provocative here. What's the big deal if nobody is collecting base sets anymore and what they're collecting are case hits or important cards? Does it really matter? Joe, what do you think of that?
I mean, yeah, sure. I think, like Aaron said, people should collect what they like. And there's always a zag to a zig when everybody's doing this. I love that Aaron has a big boy Wes Unsold. I think vintage basketball is ridiculously undervalued, and there's not that much of it out there. So that's a great alternative to, ripping, retail or hobby. So I think that's a fine alternative. And I'm just impressed. I've seen a little bit of your IG, Tropic Collects. It's very creative. You do some cool stuff with your reels. Like, I don't know, you get all artsy and stuff. And anytime I see a Maravich, Pistol Pete rookie card, it gets me excited. So carry on, young man.
Thank you.
Yeah. What about you, Ken? Just to respond to that discussion. Then we'll go to some comments because they are coming fast and furious right now, guys. Ken, what do you think of this whole, so what if nobody collects anymore base sets?
You know what? I have, and again, I said I rip a lot of wax, and I have a lot of people who I save all the base cards for that put sets together. I have no interest in putting sets together. I'm like all the other kids out there. I'm looking for the silver prism. I'm looking for the downtown, the uptown, the dual town. I'm looking for what everybody else is looking for. And sometimes I think to myself, I know it's broken, but I'm still doing it, right? Because it's what I like to do in the hobby. And Aaron, I just have to say, 2 thumbs up when all of a sudden you just drop a bomb that you got the whole 86 Fleer set and you pull up a Jordan. Like, that was just awesome. That was the best part of the whole night for me. That was just great.
I love it. That is a good call out, Ken, for sure. Guys, we're going to go to some comments because there's a lot coming in, and I just want to share everybody's thoughts with all the listeners and viewers here. So first of all, John Mangini says, I wish I was half that articulate at 15 years old. So Aaron, get ready for some compliments coming your way, buddy. Brad says Aaron is spot on. Vintage says Aaron is awesome. He's building an amazing collection if he keeps his passion for vintage. Midlife, Greg says the future is bright. I love it. Jacob Dahl says, welcome, Aaron. We are glad you are here. Mike Petty says, listen carefully, Michael Rubin. So he's saying Aaron has something that people should be listening to who are in power positions. Greg says, I want what I can't afford too. Bingo. Like, exactly. I think most of us probably want some things that we can't afford, whether it's vacations or bigger houses or nicer cars or sports cards. It's hard to argue with that. Well, it's hard to imagine anybody who doesn't, but there are some people who probably are just okay in what they're doing. Bob Boozle says kids have to mow 20 lawns to afford a damn pack these days. Aaron is nodding along. David Chase says, I hope all you vintage creators reach out to Aaron to be on their shows. Great perspective. There you go, Aaron. You might get some more podcast invitations after this.
Thank you.
Foul Ball says kids need to start collecting all those thrown away base cards. So it's an interesting comment because do they really need to? Why do they need to if they don't want to? Now we're just, why? Why do they need to? I again, it's being a little provocative. Aaron, do you agree? Do kids like you need to start collecting base card sets?
I mean, like, it's a great alternative, I would say. Like, to be honest with you, when I first started collecting, there's a shop in Toronto. It's called Relics. They have a free bin. So that's how I started off. I just started pulling cards out of the free bin. Zion Williamson here, Stephen Curry there. And I was like, hey, these are cards I like. But, like, eventually to a point, it gets to a point where you're like, hey, I need better cards. I can't just be going for, like, penny cards. But collecting is cool, and it's cool to collect, obviously. So you could collect whatever you like.
Yeah.
So if you want to collect all base Stephen Curry's from 2020 to 2025, that would be a cool idea. And it would be pretty cheap too.
Cheap for sure. Cheap, totally afford it. Free most of the time. I mean, I used to go to trade nights. Like 15 years ago, I was going to a trade night once a month here at a local LCS, and people would be busting boxes of SP Authentic Hockey, and they'd leave the base behind. And I'd say to Darren, "Hey, what are you doing? What are you doing with this?" He's like, "Nothing." I'm like, "All right." And he'd just say, "You want them?" Yeah. So I'd sit there and I'd put a base set together and I'd take it home with me. A base set. It's worth nothing. I got it for free. And I don't have those anymore. I don't have room for them anymore. They're not, for me, this is going to sound terrible, but take it as you will, everybody. They're not worthy of my collection right now because I have other cards I care about, and I'm never going to look at them again. So why have them is my position on these base sets. So John Mangini says, man, I love this kid. James Wynn says, remember, the kids now are always smarter. I think that's important. Rage says, Aaron, keep going, my friend. Never give up your passion. Mikey agrees it's a chicken or an egg scenario. It really is. Robert Scott says, Aaron's an old soul, and I'm loving it. Kareem Pye says, people collect. They just don't define it the same. That might be like the smartest comment so far on this whole thing, because what you say is collecting, we project a lot in this hobby and in life. We project what we see upon other people, right? And like growing up in the 80s, guys, all I cared about was filling in that last missing hole in my 9-pocket page. I didn't care who the player was. That became the most important card to me, was that last card I needed that I would trade all my traders for, because I was collecting sets. That's what's got me started. But I don't think that's what's getting kids started anymore. So our generation who came up that way, we're the last generation probably to be that way. And Aaron is kind of proof of that. He started a little bit that way, but he's not there anymore. John Mangini says, no one collects base set these days. They are about as exciting as my grandma. I hope Grandma Mangini is not watching right now. But Warren says, wait, what? I still collect. Exactly. You collect how you define it. Ziggy says, kids want value. They are not ignorant. Key Killer says, too busy collecting 65 rainbow parallels. That's part of it too, for sure. Linda's First loves Upper Deck Flagship. Some great cards in those packs. Sheesh, so cynical. They're great. There are some great the photography can't be beat on a lot of these lower end cards, for sure. And Lonely Basement says, kids will never enjoy the solitude and zen of card sorting. Aaron, speak to that. Do you like sorting cards? Do you ever like opening a box and building the set that way? Or does it not interest you?
I mean, every once in a while, I'm going to be honest with you, I pull out all my cards and I try to sort them by team. My 86 Fleer is sorted by number. It just is like really relaxing, peaceful, and calm for me. Like,
so you love it. You love he loves being with his cards, whether they're base or not. Ken, any thoughts from you? We are going to bring Adam Gray on here in just a couple of minutes, so we're going to swap you out, Ken, for Adam. You've been very patient and respectful. I really am grateful for that since we brought Aaron on. But I'd love for you to give sort of any final thoughts you have, and of course, let everybody know where they can find you, follow you, and listen to your wonderful content. Which, again, I'm listening to more podcasts now than I ever have in the last couple of months since I've started my nightly, basically almost 4-mile walk, and the Sports Card Lessons is on rotation. I'm happy to shout out others, but Ken's in there right now. And, you know, like anything, not every episode resonates with me as much as each one. Some more so than others, and that goes for all content out there. But Ken, let everyone know where to find you. And any final thoughts on this discussion, if you will.
Yeah, the discussion is great. I just had a question for Aaron. Kids your age that you're going to the shows, I'm sure you've made great friends at the shows, you're hanging out at the shows. Do you find that you've got this Fleer set, the 86 Fleer set, and I'm not sure what else you PC. Do you find that you're so much more ahead of where other kids your age are in collecting, and do they look up to you? You know, that type of thing. Just a quick question. I know you're getting me out of Jeremy. I just
it's okay, Ken. It's okay. Yeah. Please.
I mean, yeah. So like, I kind of see myself as like someone who they could like, not like, I never want to give anyone investing advice. Mm-hmm. That's number one. But it's like, I feel like I'm an inspiration because not many kids collect vintage. Mm-hmm. I haven't seen, to be honest with you, I've seen maybe one or two, which I've actually became friends with after we made big deals together. We actually got the Fleer Jordan off of too. Fun fact. But like, I see myself as like someone who is making a trend in the hobby. Mm-hmm. And I want to see vintage continue to like spread towards the kids, because obviously eventually if the kids do not have the vintage cards, where are they going to go?
Yeah, because most of the stuff that's coming out today is probably not going to be worth much at all. I think you're going to be a great ambassador. I think you are now a great ambassador, but I think you're going to continue to be a great ambassador in the hobby. Jeremy, Joe, thanks for having me on. Sports Card Lessons podcast, anywhere you get your podcast. Also, you can watch it on YouTube. Also, the Hobby Chop I do with two other guys. You'll see that. We drop that on Thursdays. Mine drops Sunday. We drop that Thursday. Reach out to me on Instagram at sportscard_lessons. Guys, I appreciate you having me on. This was a lot of fun.
It's good to have you on, Ken. Keep up the content. I'm loving it, buddy. And I look forward to seeing you at the National.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Awesome.
I will be there.
Okay, man. Thanks for your time. We appreciate it. Take care, Ken. All right, Aaron, before we bring Adam on, a couple more comments here. First of all, Jeremy M., good evening. Go Timberwolves. Billy wants to know, Aaron, if you know what breaking is and if you've ever participated in a break. Have you ever, I know you know what they are, Aaron. Have you ever participated in a break?
Yeah, I have participated in a break. Breaking is good, but it just is not gonna, like, it's not good for kids, in my opinion, because like kids do not have hundreds and hundreds of dollars to spend. And then also it's the gambling aspect. Like, you're buying a team. The team could hit nothing and you could be out $20 of your money or more.
Sure. Mm-hmm. How do you compare buying a spot in a break and the gambling nature of that, Aaron, to buying a whole box of cards for, you know, the break cost times 30 and maybe getting nothing you care about either, or not, like, nothing of any value that maybe you're going to get a 15% return on your investment, guys, for all the collectors out there, a return on your investment, Aaron. But really what I'm saying is, you could spend $200 on a pack of cards or 50 or 20 or 10 or whatever it is and get nothing you care about. Is that a gamble as well? Yeah.
So like what I like to do, I honestly do not rip. I don't join breaks. I don't rip. I try not to gamble to the best of my ability. What I like to do though is I like to go to a show. I like to bring cash in my pocket and spend it and buy cards which I actually know I'm getting. Like, if I have a chance of pulling a Kaboom in a pack, and the pack is $100, and the Kaboom's worth $400, I would rather just buy the Kaboom if it's something which I really want.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Because the odds of me pulling the Kaboom are very low and very slim.
Kaboom. I mean, it's all about the Kabooms these days.
I mean, all about the Kabooms, downtowns, color blasts, all that type of stuff. People love it.
What all the kids are collecting these days. Warren Warren says, I collect what I like, but I don't like this new way of things. Well, the beautiful thing, and Warren is not alone. The beautiful thing for Warren is that this hobby is such a large body of work that you can ignore what's going on today. You don't need to deal with it. You can completely insulate yourself from it and only collect the things that you do like. And I think that's a power that no one can take away from any of us. MJ Collector says, collecting matters and values aren't everything. If adults are putting themselves in precarious financial situations, chasing case hits, what do you think the kids are going to do? I think that's a fair comment right there. And David Chase says, what are Aaron's Grail cards on his wish list? So you got the Jordan rookie, Aaron. What's the next like big card on your wish list?
One of the ones in the back there, which I see on your wall, I want a Bill Russell.
Nice.
There you go. You were pointing right at it too.
I looked at myself on the screen. I said, which way? Oh, that's this. I'm guessing he's going to go this way, right? You already have that one.
Yeah.
Now you need this one.
I need that one for sure. Because obviously Bill was a great player. He was one of the first major big centers. He was before Shaq. He was before
Wilt.
Team. He was before everyone. Even Wilt, he was before.
Right on. Yeah, he's a pioneer for sure.
For sure.
All right, good stuff, Aaron. Listen, you stick around. We're gonna bring Adam Gray on now. We're gonna talk. We've got some topics for Adam. Adam is launching a very exciting project that we are going to talk about. But before we talk about that, when we bring him on the screen, Aaron, I want to get Adam's thoughts on Aaron at Tropic Collects and all this talk we've had. Joe, anything you want to jump in with before we bring on Adam and switch it up?
I bring on Adam. I'm ready for Adam.
All right, Adam, you good? All right. What's up, buddy? Welcome back to the channel. It's only been 48 hours since we did a show together, the Fanatics premiere. It's your first time on Sports Cards Live 2.0 here.
Yes.
Welcome.
Yes. I got to say, I don't know if I've ever been set up worse, though, because no one can follow Aaron Seidman. There's no chance. Like, I have no shot here of being successful at all. So, Aaron, it's good to meet you, man. I've loved listening to you for like the last half hour. I've just been smiling ear to ear the whole time, wishing that I was sitting in Ken's spot. So I'm glad that I get to hang out with you here for a couple minutes.
Right on.
Yeah.
That's very nice, Adam. Adam, do you know Joe? Have you met?
Do I know Joe? Of course I know Joe. Besides all the great things that Aaron's been talking about, my other favorite part so far is when Joe went to grab his Charles Oakley. It looked like he was going for a dip in the beach real quick and then ran back. I sort of laughed to myself about that.
Right on, right on. So, Adam, we've been talking a lot about, kids in the hobby, the barriers to entry for these young kids. Not barriers to entry, but the inability to get really what they want at an average kid's budget. Let's say there are kids that can buy big cars. Even Aaron's got the Jordan card. I mean, sure. There are kids that have more money than we think sometimes. But what are kind of your takeaways, Adam, from the discussion that you've seen so far with Aaron, the changing lanes? If you heard our changing lanes discussion, if you heard our discussion, I don't know if you heard the part with Big Ken earlier. Would you rather own the card or be at the sporting event? But I'd love you to sort of just catch us up on your thoughts on the episode so far, and then we'll jump into what you're up to.
Awesome. Well, no pressure on anything that I want to talk about. I love talking about everything that Aaron's doing here. So when I got into the hobby, Jeremy, I don't even know if you know this, my first love in the hobby was vintage basketball. And so like when in like the late 80s, early 90s, I was like going to my local card shop and buying common 1978 Topps cards. And like I remember one of my first older cards was actually from 1969 Topps, which is the same year as the West Unsold that Aaron just showed off. It was a guy named Daryl Eamhoff, and I don't really know a lot about Daryl Eamhoff. I know very little about him, but the fact that I was able to afford a 1969 common card, I mean, I had that thing in my collection for 20 years, right? Until I don't know what ended up happening to it. But you talked a lot about how young collectors can't afford things. Well, here's the great irony. It's 1969 Topps in raw form are just as affordable today as they probably were when you and I were kids, Jeremy and Joe, when you were kids. Like they haven't increased dramatically in value. And that's because there's not a lot of Aarons out there. Can you imagine if there were? What if there were 1,000 Aarons out there, like going after Alcindor? You got an Alcindor rookie. I mean,
got the Kareem.
I can tell you, I never had an Alcindor rookie when I was Aaron's age. No chance. Zero.
Adam, I want to ask Aaron really quick because he's now showing off a Kareem rookie too. Oh, look at all the tall boys he's got
Do you
there.
have the set, Aaron? Do you have that set?
No, not the full set, but I'm trying to build it.
You know what the toughest card in that set is, right?
No,
It's the checklist.
Oh,
really.
It's the checklist. Jeremy and I have actually talked about that specific checklist, both because it's a rare card, highly discarded, but also like it's just most of them are like written on, like the people who kept them checked them actually off. So to find a checklist from 69 Tops in good condition is next to impossible.
I wanted to ask you, Aaron, really quick. When did you start collecting? Because you've shown like you seem for a 15-year-old, you appear to be a bit of an advanced collector as a 15-year-old. When was the beginning for you? How old were you?
I want to say when I was 12 or 11. It was either like when I was turning like 11, turning 12, like a month before, or when I turned 12.
So 3 to 4 years you've been collecting, and you've come as far along as you've been able to purchase or acquire a Jordan rookie, a Kareem rookie. I gotta get Ziggy's question on here because it's a great question. Aaron, how important are your parents in your collecting? Do either of them collect with you? Do you have siblings who collect as well?
My parents, obviously, my father, who's in the chat right now. I know for a fact he's watching it because he told me that he's gonna watch it. He takes me to all the shows.
Hello, Mr. Seidman.
Absolutely love him. My mother is very supportive of it as well. They both do not collect, and I do not have any siblings that also collect. I don't have any siblings at all.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm an only child.
It might help being an only child, and that might be part of the reason why you have that Jordan rookie and that Kareem rookie, right? It could be. That's awesome, Aaron. And yeah, shout out to your father who has been to the events that I promote, and I see him with you at the shows. And I gotta say, like to your dad, I mean, he has to be commended because you are full of energy. Guys, listen, I've seen Aaron in action. This is the toned down Aaron. Okay, this is Aaron. Like, I don't know, 1.0. You wait till you see the 2.0 Aaron at a card show. He's out. He's out there talking to people, trying to make things happen. And so I want to commend your dad for really bringing you to the events and letting you do what you're doing. Look at this. You're on the screen with 3 men, all in their 40s and 50s, and you're 15 years old. Like, how many 15-year-olds in your class are doing late night podcasts with grown men? I mean, it's not a lot, but I think it's a wonderful opportunity for you. And I just commend your father again. I think it's awesome, and always nice to see you guys at the shows.
Can I jump in real quick, Jeremy?
Please.
I just want to say, if you look at like just the basic laws, and we've seen this over and over again in collectibles of supply and demand, we see over and over again that the people who are all collecting the same thing and the people who end up being wrong. Aaron is like the guy who's taking the road less traveled. He's collecting something that he has a passion for, that he feels really strongly about. And I just I'm like sitting here like so jealous that Aaron has the time in his life, because we're older, like you pointed out, Jeremy. He's got the time in his life to sort of develop that and figure out exactly what he's going to be and what he's going to do and how he's going to collect. Maybe he won't collect forever, but that's fine. But I'm so jealous, Aaron. You've got this great perspective. You're going after these great things. You're loving it. You have passion for it. I also have a 15-year-old who happens to be named Aaron, so I'm sitting here going, cool, but. Dude, I'm so jealous of you that you're as young as you are and you get all the opportunities to do the great things that you're going to do. And if you're willing to think with your own brain rather than follow what everybody else is doing, unbelievable things happen, dude. Unbelievable. So I'm just happy for you.
It's an absolute honor. I love watching your videos and stuff.
Well, thanks, man.
That's cool. That's great to hear. Let's do a few comments here. Joe, do you have something to jump in with? I see you mouthing. I can't tell if you're talking to someone else or not to me.
Yeah, no, it's all good. I'm excited because Adam is one of my hobby heroes, and I may not have that much time left on the show.
Sorry.
And so there's always a million questions that I'd love to ask him, and some of them probably will escape me now. But Adam, you and Jay Lee did great work the other night on the Fanatics premiere, and I just wanted to maybe synthesize. Maybe you could give us a little bit of your weather report. What surprised you about the Fanatics premiere this last Thursday night?
It was such a good show. Jeremy and I got off the live and we looked at each other and we went, that was a good show. We just had a great chat. I don't know if anything really was crazy surprising. We do continue to see people really excited about the high end stuff. And most of those cards did really well. I thought the Tom Brady 1 of 100 went lower than I thought it would personally. But dude, it was just a great chat and it was a great show. The Caitlin Clark thing I've talked a lot about. There's like the 2 different versions, and that's probably too in the weeds for this conversation. I'd rather just hang out and talk to Aaron about his vintage basketball at this point. But no, I think it was an awesome auction with generally, Joe, like really like great results, and people are hyped and excited. And several of those winners were on the show, and afterwards they were like, "Hey, I won this or I won that." And I think people were just generally in a good mood, which is sort of the other thing I noticed. I know none of those are fire takes, but that's kind of
and just it's coming. What did you make of the closing price of the Steph RPA?
Remind me what it closed at.
I think 204 maybe, or something a touch above 2, which is an uptick, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But, as you always make the point, the patch and the sort of overall presentation of the card has some bearing.
I've come to appreciate the more simple patches on that card, kind of like that one, because I worry about things being replaced. Yeah. Steph, we've you and I have talked about this before, Joe, but Steph just doesn't have a lot of cards that people think of as like big, huge Grail Steph cards, which is weird because he's played for a long time, but he's played in an era where it's harder to figure out what's key. And there's some cards I don't want to make like this is the only one, but that's like such an iconic card. And I wasn't shocked to see what it went for. It's a consolidation card, a card that people want to sell a lot of stuff to get into it, because it's like, okay, now I've got the Steph NT, the second greatest RPA of all time, the Steph RPA. So I wasn't shocked, but it's definitely, like you say, it was a really healthy number for sure.
And when Adam says that we looked at each other and said, that was a great show, it's because we had a great time doing it. It's like we had a great time. The chat was involved. It makes it that much better. I'm going to go to some comments here again, guys, if I may, just to, bring to a close a bit of the conversations we were having with Aaron. And Aaron, you stick around for a bit still. We're going to talk about Adam's project.
Okay, cool.
First, but Linda's first did have a question for you, Aaron. You're in Toronto. Are you into hockey at all?
Definitely not.
Definitely not.
Least favorite sport. I've dabbled into football a bit. Not really into it, except my fins, which I absolutely love, but that's about it.
Hey, you collect what you like for sure. Mr. Mangini, greatly appreciate the comment right there very much. He says, Jeremy, this is why I voted for you for the YouTube Sports Card Hall of Fame, which I'm not a member of. Best live on YouTube. Thank you, John. From the hobby president, that really carries some weight with me. Latrell Spreewell says, what a nice kid. Your parents did a good job raising a good kid. That's nice, Aaron. Very nice comment. Thank you, Latrell Spreewell. Ziggy No says, I applaud your parents for their involvement, as do I. The Mangini Collection says, I'm an only child too. Sports cards are my brother's. He's not kidding. That is not a typo. He's not being facetious. He means it. And I know, I was born, I'm the oldest of, how do I explain this? I have 2 brothers, one full brother and one half brother. My full brother passed away 2 months before I ever went live on YouTube for the first time. That was February of 2020. My brother passed away. He was 4 years younger than me. I don't know if I've ever mentioned that on Sports Cards Live before. I have another brother who's 8 years younger than me. And so, speaking about brothers, I have brothers, but my sports cards are kind of like, they become, especially when you've owned them for decades. Aaron, you can't say that yet, but when you can, Joe knows, Adam knows, you guys in the chat know, when you've owned
a sports card for decades, they become a part of your family in a way. And if you're not in the hobby, you're listening to this, you're thinking, oh my God, this guy, these people are on whatever they're on, right? But
Oh, my dad right now.
yeah, but we do feel that way. We love these things. Joe, do we love these things?
Absolutely, 100.
100. Adam's nodding along. We do love these things. So I appreciate John's comment here. And I think he's probably right. When you're an only child, your card, Aaron, do you feel like as an only child, do your cards fill a role for you that maybe a sibling, not like they're different guys. I get it. But in the absence of a sibling, are your cards or is your hobby something that you really lean into?
Yeah, definitely. Because I don't have that like person to like really connect with me around my age, like a sibling. Cards are something which I could like go like on a weekend, go to a local show, like put my mind on it instead of homework, and actually like talk to different dealers. And like some of the dealers I'm very close with, and I like treat them as like family too, which is nice.
And they treat you well too, right? That's the community part of it, for sure, right there. A couple more comments here. Linda's first says, this isn't me. I'm not reading to shut myself out. I think I want other people to do the same thing I'm doing. Says, I think Jeremy deserves some props here for giving this kid the platform and helping the younger generation. Good on you. And listen, I'm not the only one who's had a youngster on the show, but let's encourage more people. You see a young guy out there in the hobby, especially one like Aaron, who's making content, collecting, trying to grow the hobby with kids his age. And I mean, Aaron, I see you in pictures on your Instagram with all the other young kids at the card show. And you're not so young. You're 15. You're not 10, 11, 12, or 13 years old. There are kids. And I have seen you in pictures with kids younger than you. So you're taking a leadership role. That's important. Don't stop doing that, Aaron. Ziggy No says, Aaron, how can we help you? Do you have any charities? Would you accept gifts? And that's right, Ziggy. We don't want to, we're the kid. I like the question. Do you have any charities? How can we help keep you going? Aaron, do you need help being kept going, or are you running on your own fuel right now?
I mean, to be honest with you, I do have a card show, which is like, I've done it. I've done 2 in the past before where it's just giving back to community, free entry, free tables. It just kind of just gets people in it. So, and like, there's a bunch of raffles and prize draws. So we gave away like an SPA. We gave away a bunch of stuff. We gave away over thousands and thousands of dollars of product due thanks to like local card shops like Mint Ink, Relics, and like so on and so forth. And Toronto, which is absolutely insane. So if anyone would like to help out with that, you guys can, I guess. But if not, just continue supporting the page, drop a follow, drop likes, just anything that helps out like that.
That's nice. Yeah. That's wonderful. Hello to Double D Dylan, Joe's fellow surfer. What's up, Dylan? Welcome.
Dylan, Shaka.
Right on. Chris C here says, cards are family, especially ones you pull as a kid. Still have my 87 Topps Nolan Ryan and others I cherish. It's not just about the high dollar cards to me. A lot of great memories as a kid. 100%, completely agree. I have a few of those myself as well. Okay, let's change up a little bit, guys, because I do want to give some airtime, Adam. I know. What are you pointing at? What are you pointing at, Joe?
Well, are we going to talk about the 25 or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what
it's such a. I'll tell you what though, Jeremy, it's a really hard change of gears because like we all just want to keep talking about what Aaron's doing because it's so refreshing. I just wrote that in the chat. Like what I'm doing right now, I think it's kind of cool. But like Aaron, seriously, like hearing your perspective tonight is, I think for most of us, going to be the highlight of the show. So good job.
Thank you so much, Adam.
That's nice, Adam. That's good. I'm happy that you got to hear that, Aaron, and you're getting so much positive feedback here in the chat. I think Adam does say we see a lot of kids in the hobby, but it's usually related to breaking, etc. Seeing someone like Aaron is so refreshing. Variant Robert Scott just dropped you a follow.
Awesome.
Ziggy wants to know. There you go. Ziggy No wants to know, is Aaron going to the National or Fanatics Fest, Aaron?
So National is in the talks currently. Fanatics Fest might happen or might not, but National more than likely.
If I can just give a pitch, Aaron, real quick, to your dad, because I know he's listening. You get the chance to see almost everybody at National. And you can't afford everything. You can't go to every show. I personally go to one show a year. It's the National. I'd like to go to more, but I got 4 kids. Life's busy here. There's a lot of stuff going on, and I just can't pull away. And so if I could give a shout out to your dad, obviously, like if he could bring you and you spend a day or 2 at National, it's a pretty incredible experience. You haven't been before, have you?
No.
Yeah, it's
I haven't
cool.
been. I haven't been outside the city of Toronto, honestly.
Okay.
You've never been outside Toronto?
Like I've been outside Toronto for like vacations and stuff, but like not
Oh.
for like card shows.
Okay, got it.
Cool experience, Aaron. And I know it's a lot of money, and it's also it has to work around so many other schedules and other things.
Yeah.
It will blow your mind. It will blow your mind.
I know.
And also the networking. I mean, let's face it, you're a mover and a shaker in the hobby, Aaron. It's you're trying to make a name for yourself. I hope that tonight helps you with that. And being at these bigger events can be a part of that. But listen, that's up to your parents. Let them you're still a youngster. Let them decide what they want to do and all that. But Bob Boozle wishes his wife would let him go to the National. And Ziggy No would be happy to help sponsor your trip to the National. I know you're in Canada, Ziggy. That's very
Ziggy,
generous of you.
What a good man.
Very generous of you, Ziggy. And I'm going to leave that one between everybody else. I'm not going to get involved in that. Ziggy does say, could Aaron become a regular on Sports Cards Live and maybe provide quarterly updates? So now Ziggy is a co-producer of Sports Cards Live. He's given us regular guests. What I'll say to that is, Aaron, and to Ziggy and everybody, yeah, we'll have Aaron back in the future. And when there's something to something to update us on, we can definitely have Aaron back on the show again. So
For sure.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. Aaron, is there anything else that you wanted? Because I think the audience is enjoying our discussion with you. I know Adam, Joe, and myself are. Is there anything else that you wanted to talk about tonight coming on the show?
I think we covered everything, honestly, but I appreciate everyone for having me on.
You don't have to leave yet. You can stick around. You can stick around for a few more minutes. Stick around for a few more minutes. But Adam, we are going to switch into the 25 and 25, if we may. And let's face it, I mean, you're a basketball guy. Aaron's a basketball guy. Joe is a basketball guy too. Joe, how are you making out for time?
I got a few more minutes.
Okay.
Awesome.
All right. Good.
Awesome.
So, Adam, let me set the table here for you, if I may. Guys, you might remember that back about 3 years ago or so, I think it was, Adam was an employee of PWCC, the auction company, now Fanatics Collect, and he spearheaded a project there called the iconic cards list, and it resulted in this book right here, the Iconic 100. And not many copies of this book made it out there. I'm fortunate to own one of the few copies that do exist in hard copy, and I cherish it and I love it. And Adam is now endeavoring on a new but similar project. Adam, this is the Iconic 100 cards of the history of the hobby. What iconic list are you working on now? What does 25 in 25 really mean?
That's such a good lead in, Jeremy. I want to say it was awesome to have you be part of the Iconic 100. You might remember that when we started BCF, we actually did a couple of these projects that were similar, but not as fleshed out. So for BCF in our second issue, we did the countdown of the greatest basketball cards of all time. And it was another crowdsourcing project. These lists, a lot of times people will look at that list and they'll ascribe the list to me. I want to be very quick. The whole purpose of the exercise is to ask the community in a unique way what they believe the iconic cards are, and then take what they say and basically release those in a countdown. And it's awesome because not any one person can say, well, this needs to be the answer and that needs to be the answer. And the greatest thing is that everybody at the end is like, I don't think that's exactly the way I would have done it. But most people, I think, at least this happened with the 100 and it's happened in BCF the different times that we did it. People have looked at it and they've gone, okay, I guess that makes sense that it turned out that way. And what we're doing this time, though, is we're taking the lessons that we've learned in the 3 previous lists that we've done, and we're saying, let's apply those lessons and let's make this awesome. Let's count down, let's pull the community and let's count down the 25 most iconic cards in the first 25 years of the century, because we're 5 months past that point. It's been 25 years and 5 months in this century. People don't realize that because 2000 is the beginning of the century, right? So December 31st was the end of the first 25 years. And so we're just asking the question, what do you think are the top 25 most iconic cards? Fill out a poll. There's no benefit to me as far as like you putting it out there. I want to hear what you think. And every person from a 15-year-old named Aaron but Aaron, here's the thing, is it doesn't include the 86 Flair because it's only this century. Yeah. And that's what makes it tough, because we're all used to being like, it's the Mantle or it's the Wagner or it's the 86 Jordan. And I'm like, what is it for this first 25 years? And Aaron, I'm like you, I don't collect this stuff as much as I collect stuff from before. I mean, in fact, on the whole of the survey right now, I only have one card on the whole of the survey, and it's not going to make. I don't think it's going to make the final list. So this is about figuring this out and seeing what the community thinks of it, and we're just gonna see what happens.
Right on. Now, what's really important there that you mentioned, but I want to make sure people understand, this is not. Once this list is compiled, this is not Adam's list. This is Adam's just organizing a survey, and I'm going to show you guys a survey. He sent me the preview link. It's not public yet for everybody to jump in and
real quick though, Jeremy, just before the show, and I didn't tell you this, let me just jump in and say this. On my link on Instagram or on my stories in Instagram right now, if you want to go see the cards and if you want to propose a card that should be on there that's not, you got till Monday morning. You can tell us if it should be on there. And I'm not going to say that your card's going to definitely get it, because somebody's going to be like entering some card that's like key to their collection that doesn't matter. But these cards that we're about to look at, Jeremy, you can go see them all if you look at my story and click on the link that's on there.
Right. Joe?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Teacher or conveyor of information. So in the last 25 years, a lot of what we've sort of deemed as the most valuable have been cards that might be one of ones. And what I'm curious about is, does that equate to iconic?
Does not.
It's a great question.
It's a perfect question. And it's one of the things that's at the heart of like why this is difficult. Everyone wants to qualitatively rank everything. And so you can talk about value. You can talk about, you can talk about pop counts. You can talk about all of these things. This is not a question of those things at all. This is a question of, what do you think is iconic? And at the beginning of the survey, we have a definition, and it's just a straight definition from either ChatGPT or Webster or something. I can't even remember where I pulled it. There's the definition. Read it, look at the cards, decide what you think, and then let's again crowdsource it, average that, and I can get in and talk about that if you guys want to. But average all of those against each other, and let's see what happens.
Great question, Joe. I think it's relevant, and that's a question that I had for Adam too. Is the Paul Skeens MLB debut patch an iconic card?
It's on the survey.
Is it on the right? So we're going to show you guys also what's important here is that this isn't a write-in ballot. You're going to choose from 100 or so cards that Adam spent months gathering and collating to have a final list to choose from. I do believe, and I said to him early on, I said, yeah, but is there a write-in option, Adam? Did you add the write-in? He added the write-in option.
It is, but again, before we get there, I'd like anyone to look at it over the next few days and say like, hey, Adam, you missed something, because let's like pull the curtain back, just total transparency. I asked the very smartest people that I could come up with for each vertical, for each sport, right? For hockey, it's the guy who's hosting the show, right? I said, Jeremy, what do you think? And we took the BCF basketball list. That's where we started. There, we've added one card to it. Baseball came from an amalgamation of 3 different people. Football came from a group of 3 different people. There's a tennis group, a UFC group, a wrestling group. All of these groups sent me the options. And now we're saying to the whole community, hey, if there's anything else that's missing here, you got to let us know, because the great risk of this, the thing that that keeps me up at night, is that somebody will go in to fill in the thing and they'll say, "Oh, Adam, you missed this really key card," and I'll just pull my hair out, because we don't want that. We want all of the options to be there. We've done it in a painstaking way, and at this point we have 130 cards. It's a lot of cards to look through, but we'd rather add extras than leave something off. We want to make sure everyone has their chance to put in their card. And I wouldn't be shocked if we end up adding another 10 to 20 cards before it goes live on Tuesday. And it does go live on Tuesday.
Live. And Adam, can anybody respond to this survey?
Anybody. Yes.
Anybody can respond. So the more the better, because we're obviously going to have a lot of bias in people's answers, right? You know that. Let's do a few. We're going to go to some comments. Then what we're going to, okay, here's what we're going to do for the next couple minutes, guys. We're going to go to comments. Then we're going to bring Chris Hodge on, who's in the back room. I want Aaron to be able to say hi to Chris before Aaron leaves. Aaron, I think it'll be pretty cool. You get to be with Chris Hodge as well, a legend in the hobby too. That'll be nice for you. And then you will depart and we will continue the show. But first of all, Mr. Minty, Mr. Steve, my friend Steve says, Tropic is the young GOAT. Very nice comment from Mr. Minty. Billy says, Aaron, always do what makes you happy. Don't ever follow the crowd, kid. Great advice from Billy right there. Mark Santucci says, for this century, there are no great cards. Some okay cards. Judge Otani, he's kind of thinking out loud there. Mark Santucci is. Aaron himself says, you have to say 09 Curry, Wemby Prism, 03 LeBron, 08 KD. Aaron, we will see in a moment if they are on the survey. Mike Petty says, Mike Trout and 25 parallelograms. Chris C says, I'm guessing the Skeens will be on it. We've already confirmed. Chris C also says, see, this is fun, Adam. People are already throwing out their suggestions, right? 2001. They're basically filling out the survey without seeing it. 2001, Bowman, Chrome, Pujols. LGC says 2001 Upper Deck, Tiger Woods. Ziggy No says, is this sports only? Is WWE not included? We've confirmed it is included. Yes. And Chris C says, don't forget the Taco Bell refractor or whatever that was called. I don't remember exactly. The taco fractor, I think it was called, was that one. Linda's first says democracy in action. Great job, Adam. Yeah, this is not Adam's list. This is the community's list. So get your votes in, people. You can all listen. Let's get the Sports Cards Live community to get their voice heard on this. So make sure that you guys get your votes in.
Hey, as part of that, Jeremy, I'm going to include a thing that says, where did you hear about the list? Just so that, so we can know how many of the people from that actually fill it out will be from Sports Cards Live. I think that'd be interesting.
Right on. Okay, Chris, are you good to join us and say hello to Aaron? All right, guys, we're going to bring Chris Hodge on the show. We're going 5-way here. Welcome to the show, Chris. How's your travels today?
Travel's good. Glad made it back in time. Hello, Joe, Jeremy, Adam, and Aaron.
Hello.
Good
Welcome back, buddy. Welcome back.
Great to be back, as Big Rangs once said.
Before we get your thoughts on anything, Chris, I want you to say hi to Aaron, because we're gonna see him off.
Hello, Aaron. I got to check out some of your Instagram content for the first time today, and you and I chatted for a brief second. Obviously, what you're doing is not only commendable, but it's courageous too, because a long time ago I was 15. And I know the courage that it takes to put yourself out there, probably even more so in this era than any era. Keep doing what you're doing, and really grateful that you're a part of our hobby, buddy.
Thanks so much, Chris.
That's very nice, Chris. Thank you for that. Thank you for bringing that to Aaron. It's a really nice comment. Aaron, thank you for joining the show. It's been great having you, my friend. I will see you soon, I'm sure, at another card show. I'll be at the National if you manage to make it there. If not, I'll see you at an expo here in Canada.
Okay.
Pretty soon.
See you, Jeremy. See you, Joe. See you, Adam. See you, Chris.
Bye, Aaron.
Take care, buddy. Take care, Aaron.
Take care.
All right, guys. That was really great. Thank you all. Thank you all for that. It's great. Listen, I got to tell you guys, Chris and Adam, two close friends of mine in the hobby. It's great to, and Joe goes without saying, it's really nice to have this four on the screen for me right now. This is it's heartwarming for me, because you're all good friends of mine, and this isn't 2-year friendships. I mean, we're going on 6-7 years here, maybe a bit even more. Like, it's pretty cool. So I'm glad we're here. let's jump in. I think, Chris, your curiosity is probably piqued. You want to see what's on this survey.
Oh, yeah.
Joe wants to see. I want to see. Are we good to do that now, guys? You good for you? Everyone good for that?
Let's do it. Let's do it.
All right. So I'm going to share the screen here, Adam. And here it is, guys. 25 and 25, the most iconic sports cars of the 21st century. Wonderful logo. You even have autographs on the logo right there. And it says, you've been asked to help determine the most iconic sports cars from 2000 to today. As an expert, your responses may be shared in content that will come from the results of this survey. Adam, can you just address the use of the word expert? Because really, let's be honest, not everybody who's going to answer this survey is an expert.
Yeah. Real quick, I made some edits to this before we jumped on. Reminder, this is not final. This is just for the Sports Cards Live community. Did you refresh this by chance?
Before the show started, I did. Let's see.
Yeah, because I think yeah.
Oh, the word expert's gone.
Yeah. So there are going to be two components of this, right? There's going to be an expert component, and then there's going to be a community component. And sort of like, think about it like the NBA All-Star Game voting, right? You have a group of people who are like the people who should be the smartest people, and then you have the group of people who are just the whole of the community. And we're going to weigh them equally. But the thing that I needed to do is part of this, and we learned this again through the last surveys, is it's so essential when somebody is a key voter that they know that their votes may be made public. And so I would imagine that at the end of this, when we do the book, assuming that we do the book, that the surveys, if you are on the expert side of it, that your votes actually will be made public. And that transparency is just really important. We have GemRate will also be doing the math on this. Again, it won't just be me, but it's so important that there's transparency. And so we wanted to make it possible for everyone while also saying, hey, here's the experts and there. So that's why this is now sort of this language rather than what you read earlier.
All right. With that context, Adam, should I hit begin survey?
Do it. But as you do, I want to point out something that we talked about before the show, which is we're not going to fill it out here because we don't want to influence people. We want people to look at it and come up with what they think. That's the whole point of this. If Chris and me and Joe and Jeremy say, hey, it should be this or it should be that, then we taint the value of it. We want people to say what they think.
Okay. So first of all, do you mind? I'm going to read this to everybody because you guys everyone who's watching this, if you're listening in the coming days, we are recording the show on May 24th. If you are listening to this later on in the week, you are welcome to vote on this. So I'm going to read it to you because you guys can't see it, those listening. But what it says is being iconic means widely recognized and admired, often symbolizing a particular era, group, or concept. It signifies a person or thing that is influential, representative, and revered. We are on a mission to create a ranked list of the 25 most iconic sports cars of the century from the years 2000 to today, and we need your help. Please review all instructions before filling out your ballot. Instructions number 1, please view all cards before ranking the 25 you feel are most iconic. Number 2, after looking at all the cards, determine which you believe is the number 1 most iconic. Click the card. Then click on the card you believe is number 2. Continue until you've chosen and ranked the 25 cards you believe are the most iconic sports cards of the century. Number 3, be sure to enter your information at the bottom of the survey and hit submit. FAQ info. Cards are in order by sport and date. If a card is a parallel or variation of another card, then all are grouped within one spot. Not all parallels or variations are necessarily found within each square. There's not room for 65 parallelograms.
We did our best, you'll see, but in some cases you just can't do more than what we did.
And I said to Adam a few days ago, I was looking at this, I said, dude, I can't tell who these players are. There's too many cards in there. I can't even see it. So yeah, I think you probably took that point. Adam, the instructions go on to say you can take as long as you want. You can unclick selections if you make a mistake. GemRate population data is to be added to it. The deadline for the survey is June the 10th. Only surveys with all 25 choices made will count towards the final countdown list. We will share the results soon. Happy collecting, Adam Gray, the real 27 guy. Now, before we look at the cards, I want to get comments from everyone on the panel here to see what you think moving in. Adam, I think we'll start with you because this might, you might address some questions that Joe, myself, or Chris have.
Yeah, there's a lot of different ways to do a survey, right? And there's a lot of different ways to figure this out. Some people have suggested, well, you should take certain amounts from each sport, and you should do this, and you should sort of, you've got to make sure that you get the right representation from each sport. And there are ways that we could do that through like creating a survey that's several steps. What we're doing instead is we're saying, listen, we don't want to tell you how many of each card or how many of each sport should be on this. We want you to come up with that. So Jeremy, you and I have talked about like hockey, how many cards from hockey you're going to make it, how many cards of basketball. We don't really know, but as part of that, we said, let's just put the images down. We're not going to write down below what the card is. We don't need anybody to go like say, well, what is this card or whatever we want. The idea of iconic is you probably should know it's iconic when you see the picture. You probably shouldn't have to like go find out about it to discover whether it ought to be on your list. So that's deliberately left out. But basically, when you're able to take the survey, you'll choose, as it says here, you'll choose 1, 2, you'll go all the way through 25, and then that will populate on a spreadsheet. That spreadsheet for your line, your column, your row that gets chosen for you will have a 1 through a 25. And then we have a way that we predetermined that is going to be it's going to be described in the notes to this when you actually log in. That will determine the math behind how that actually ranks against the other cards and how that actually sort of spits out at the end. But yeah, when people click on this, they're going to have the chance to go through 1 through 25. Some people, I would guess, will do it relatively quickly, and some people, and this is what we've seen before, some people really pour over this. Like it takes a long time. But in either case, you've got to look through all the cards first to make sure that you're giving it your best sort of effort to do the best job that you can. And we hope that people will really take the time and honestly just do their best on it.
Right on. Okay, appreciate that. Joe and Chris, get your thoughts together for any comments before we look at the list. I just want to, Dave Marone is calling out all the greats of history, but this is cards from the 21st century only, years
Right.
2000 to 2025. So basically none of those guys are going to appear, I don't think, although you never know. Bob Boozle says, Jeremy, enter me into the contest to win these cards. I love it. You're on, Bob Boozle. You got it. Joe, do you have any comments, questions about it before we look at the cards?
In the literary realm, there's a critic named Harold Bloom, and Harold Bloom has analyzed many great authors, including Shakespeare. And one of the things he says about William Shakespeare is that Shakespeare reads you. You don't read Shakespeare. Shakespeare reads you. And I think an argument could be made that the results of this survey will probably ruffle some feathers in some interesting ways, because you will see the gaps in your own collecting aesthetics. And I just kind of want to acknowledge that like this is probably something that creates a level of controversy in everybody's mind, because not everybody is going to be equally aligned with this list. And Adam already referenced that, but I just think it's an important thing to say, because we get certain rigidities in this hobby and predispositions and biases. And so just kind of going into this process, I think it's important to acknowledge that and say, this is what we get when we poll the people we poll, and everybody contributes the way they contribute. And so it's not meant to be a perfect representation, and it's a representation in this current moment of 2025, late May, early June. So I would just throw that in, and then, from there, let's go. Let's see what happens.
I find myself wanting to campaign to hockey collectors to get their votes in. I feel like there can be an aspect of campaigning. Like, get your votes in. Like, if you represent the wrestling world, if you love wrestling and there's a few cards to choose from, you got to get your wrestling buddies to get their votes in to have a chance at claiming one of those 25 elusive spots. There's only 25. All you hockey guys out there, you got to vote on this. We got to be represented.
This is one of the dangers, unfortunately. And again, I know we've got a couple of real big basketball fans on the show here. Every year you see this with the All-Star game. you see guys who gets votes and you're like, that guy is not as good as this other guy. I know it. Like, it's wrong. Every time Yao, when Yao was in the league, he won every single All-Star vote. And it's not because he was the best player. It was because he was the most popular. And so is there a chance that, like Lakers fans, like we have with those, that's the hockey fans in this, where the hockey fans are like, we're just going to vote for hockey fans or hockey cards. There is the chance of that. And so there is risk with opening up to everybody. I understand that, but I'm sort of a believer that it's like the law of large numbers, that it will come together in a way that will make sense. And I think that's the best way to do it. Otherwise, you just don't give people a chance to be part of it. And I think that should be part of it.
Great stuff. Good stuff. Okay, let's go to Chris now. He's taking notes, getting his thoughts together. Chris,
I'm already nervous, Chris.
Before we reveal the list, what are you thinking, buddy?
Oh, I wanted to find something clever to say, and then Joe up the ante. But but look, I want to take a stab at something, okay? Because like I'm gonna piggyback off of a different question that Joe had, which was Joe was sort of talking about, well, this really isn't the forum to rank one of ones necessarily. And I started thinking to myself, like, we do have answers to a lot of questions that we can answer on paper, like what are the most valuable cards, or what are the rarest cards, or what are the most graded cards? Like, those are numbers that we can look up more or less. I mean, some are estimates, but this exercise to me is really interesting, in part because it's reaching for something subjective, but not my or Joe or Adam or Jeremy's aesthetic preferences. It's not asking us, what do you think is beautiful, or what card do you like the most? It's asking us to make a subjective rendering of what we think other people's subjective rendering is, specifically in the nature of what's iconic. So it's like the old the Keynesian beauty contest question, where he would say stocks are sort of like stock investing is playing this game of guessing what other people think other people are wanting to invest in. And so I think this is such a good survey question, because it really taps into a topic that we can't answer using numbers on a piece of paper, numbers on a screen. This is a question where we really have to introspect and give an earnest opinion of what we think other people think. That's the nature of what iconic is. Iconic is tapping into this question of consensus, of community, of what do we see other people seeing. And I think it makes it such a difficult question. And every time I think about topics like this, it gets harder and harder for every month, every year that I'm in the hobby. This particular subject gets harder and harder, because I want to lean more and more into the facts and the numbers on the screen. And this exercise is requiring, it's demanding to do the opposite, which, it's like when anybody can answer this. Anybody can look into their experience in the hobby and give an opinion on what they think is popular and is iconic. But as the more ingrained you get into the hobby, or for me anyway, the harder and harder I find. This exercise has never been more difficult than it is right now. And for me, just as I get more experience, I wonder if Adam can speak to that too. The nature of this exercise speaks to how difficult this actually is to do, and how easy it is at the same time. I mean, we can just gut check and just do it, or we can just like you said, we can just pour over it for days trying to figure it out.
I love all of that, Chris. I think that my way of doing it is going to be very anti how I normally am, which is pour over data, look at spreadsheets, like go to pop reports. What I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the whole list, and I haven't done it yet. Look at the whole list, and I'm going to say, okay, what do I think is, and I'm going to read that. Every time I read that definition, I go, okay, that's what it means. Because it's easy to get sort of sideways and go, oh, this isn't worth as much as this. And then you have to just remind yourself, like, that's not what we're talking about. Or like, oh, everybody knows what that thing is. Even knowing what something isn't necessary at this moment, isn't necessarily the right thing. Because I can't remember which of you mentioned like the prisoner of the moment, the timing aspect. You could have a big card that's like a 1 of 1 that's on this list sell like the week before this. And I would hope that you'd be able to step back and say, okay, there's some timing thing that's happening here. What is really iconic? Iconic is more a timeless thing. And I know that that's not going to be perfect in how people think about it. But yeah, I think that the other thing that I thought of as you were talking, Chris, was This idea of like the numbers, and it's so tempting to go to the numbers. And the number that's actually most interesting for me to go to maybe is even population count. But as we were doing some checks to make sure that we had everything, we're looking at the total populations, like the biggest populations, and the Trae Young Prism was there. And I was like, I just don't think that needs to be on the survey at this point, regardless of how many times it's been included. Nobody even mentioned that when we did it for BCF, like not a single person. And so it's been graded a ton and everybody knows it. I don't think it's iconic at this point. At least that's my sense. And we might have somebody else say, no, Adam, you were wrong. That should be on there. And I'm super open to adding whatever, as long as the community feels like we probably really should add something, then let's add it. Because again, my risk here is that we don't include something that's key. And so I just hope that as we look at it together tonight, or as people look at my IG and they say, oh yeah, I'm like looking at the link now, that we get everything. And then people give it their best, like honest, like Chris said, like you're not thinking about values. You're not thinking about pop counts. You're thinking about something that's really hard to define. Read the definition and then go pick it. And then, yeah, like I said, we'll see where it lands.
Joe.
Oh, you mentioned the Trae, which makes me think of Luka, which makes me think which Luka, which makes me think of then Zion and Ja, and like how much
Caitlin,
the road we've traveled versus like the current situation, like, because of course, in the pandemic, Zion and all of that, but let's move forward, because we can ask these questions, but then we the rubber hits the road, and we got to make some choices.
Right. I'd love to look at it. And again, whatever you guys think, tell us, like say it right to me. I want to hear it.
All right, we're going to look at it. 2 seconds here. Very first, Billy here said, when you think of sports cards, what's the first card that comes to mind? For me, it's the Gretzky Peachy rookie card. Now, that's exactly what you need to be thinking. Does this card come to mind for you when you're looking at the cards on the survey? That to me is iconic. It represents things. We will read the definition that Adam included on the survey again. Hobby Champ says, where do we find the poll again? We will get all that information to you, Hobby Champs. It's not available yet. It's not live until Tuesday. So you all have some time first. And Defend Pro Canada, my buddy Chris says, well said, Chris. It has to be iconic, not what you love. Really have to understand cards and the history of that card. Hey, Joe's buddy is lurking in the side there. We can see him going. There we go. What's up, Rico? All right. So with all that said, I am now Joe, are you still good?
We're good.
Okay. Hey, we got Josh Adams in the back. Josh, you want to join the screen for this part? All right, guys. Surprise guest, Josh Adams. What's up, Josh? How are you?
I'm good. I spent 12 hours at a soccer field today, so this is a welcome change.
All right.
Adam, Joe, nice to see you.
Okay, bud. All right. So welcome, Josh. Here we go. Back to the screen share. Being iconic means being widely recognized and admired, often symbolizing a particular era, group, or concept. It signifies a person or thing that is influential, representative, and revered. And with that, I'm now going to scroll down, and we're going to just kind of do this in segments here. There's the first 9. Let me just center this right there. There's the first 9 options. So, Adam, why don't you just list them off? What are these 9 cards? I recognize 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them. Oh, 6.
Yeah.
What do we got here?
I think, and yeah, I think that's pretty good for modern baseball. So you've got the Pujols, both versions of the Bowman plus the Bowman Chrome, the Ichiro Bowman Chrome / Bowman. The card that you definitely remember if you were around in the early 2000s, the Ichiro Pujols dual tops in its different variations. I think is that Kershaw? I think that's Kershaw. Yeah. Bowman Chrome. The Alex Gordon is going to catch some people. But actually, sorry, I'm going to not do what I told you guys that I was not going to do. I'm not going to tell you whether something is or isn't going to make the list. I'm going to try to do that more sort of fairly, right? I don't want to introduce bias here. That's my main goal, is not to introduce bias.
And Adam, I just want to mention, we have over 100 cards to get through, so we're not.
I'll go real fast. Sorry.
Got to go fast. Yeah.
Thank you, Jeremy. The Alex Gordon, Topps rookie. The Derek Jeter from 2007 with George Bush and Mickey Mantle in the background. The Clayton Kershaw Topps. The Bowman Chrome / Bowman Mike Trout. And I think it's Buster Posey Heritage.
Yep. Buster Posey. Let's keep on going. Topps update. Trout
Topps
there.
2011 Trout. Bryce Harper, the George Bush autograph / base card. I forget who that one is, Jeremy. Can you read it?
That's Bryce. We got Bryce Harper. We've got Aaron Judge. We've got Mookie Betts. It's really, listen, you guys can see the cards, and where there's 5 of them, it's because, listen, they're all the same card. They're different parallel. All parallels comprise one option, and that's, I think it's the best way to do it, Adam. I love that. I'll try to run through these a bit quicker. Maybe I can see them bigger on my screen. Mookie Betts over there. Another Mookie Betts card. We got a Juan Soto. I recognize this one. We've got the Vladdy Guerrero Jr. right there. Embarrassingly, I don't recognize it. We've got the Aaron Judge. Certainly recognize that. Maybe I shouldn't say what I recognize. We've got the Aaron Judge.
That's right.
Who's this? Oh, that's Shohei, isn't it?
Shohei. Oh, wait.
Shohei there. Who's this?
Acuna.
Another
Acuna.
Okay. And this is?
I'm not
Acuna
sure.
again. Oh, Soto. That's Soto. This is Shohei Ohtani. I don't know. We got Jackson Holiday.
Bobby Witt. Bobby Witt is the one on the side there. And then the fun face card, the Shohei Topps Dynasty, and the big MLB debut Skeens card.
And then we move into, so that's these are what Adam's group of like modern baseball experts came up with as, so baseball, for those keeping count, lots of baseball entries, 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24, 27, 28 baseball cards made the survey. If anyone sees any you think are missing, send Adam a DM. He's happy to entertain it.
I don't want to, the 3 people who gave me what they thought for baseball basically had fights. They were like, he's wrong. And these are like some of the smarter people I could come up with. So this is hard. Like, this is really, really a difficult process. Our main objective is to not miss something that could actually make the top 25. Okay. So people are going to be like, I think this card should be over this card, or that. Somebody in here said something about a card that shouldn't be on there. There are some people who are really passionate about that particular card that somebody said that shouldn't be on here. Okay, let's keep going. Do you want to keep going, Jeremy?
Yeah. We got LeBron. We got 2 LeBron cards, 3 LeBron cards right there. We've got the Jordan NBA Logo Man Ultimate Shield, Ultimate Logo Man. We've got the LeBron Exquisite RPA. Could be I shouldn't say what could be, but could be number 1 on the list. I'm gonna say that, Adam. We don't know yet. We've got couple limited logos, Jordan and LeBron as well. A dual logo man here, LeBron and Jordan. The Kevin Durant Exquisite triple logo men are represented here. Adam, is this to represent like all triple logo men, or is this the same combination of 3 players on each card?
This was the hardest card in the whole thing to combine, but we had to, because there's 2 years where Kobe, LeBron, and Jordan are on 2 logo men.
Got it. We have the KD Topps Chrome card and its variations. We have the LeBron James Chalk Toss. We have the Kobe Bryant with the LeBron James cameo. A really cool card. We've got the Steph Curry Topps Chrome. Is that the Topps Chrome? All the parallels there?
Yeah, it's all, that was the same. They were the same product that year. We made the decision on that one, especially because it has the same image, to include them all in one spot.
And I'm seeing a ton of comments coming in, guys. Like, this is great. You know, like Ziggy here says, too many LeBron cards. I don't think of half of those cards. Your answer will represent your thoughts, guys. We're all entitled to our thoughts on this, 100%. We've got LeBron James Prism, Kobe Bryant Prism.
The Kobe, let me stop real quick. The Kobe is the one card that I have that is on this whole thing. It's the one thing that you could say, hey, Adam, you're biased. You're doing something here that's wrong. I have the Kobe, so I want to call that out. It did make our original top 25 list when we didn't have like actual options. And so I felt like it had to be included here, but I just want to get it out of the way. That's the one card that I have. But to take it off would have meant that I had to take off everything else past it. And I think that would have pissed some people off. So again, I did the best that I could there.
There's no bias there, Adam. It has to be there. We have Giannis Prism rookie in parallels. We have Giannis NT rookie in parallels. Jokic Prism and parallels. Luka NT. Luka Prism. LeBron James, the mini fig LeBron, I think they kind of call it. I'm not sure with the parallels. Zion. I think Zion has to be on this list, Adam. Whether he's still that or not, I think he has to be on the list. We've got Wemby on the far right, triple logo man in the middle. We got 3 Tom Brady's. We've got his Bowman with the chrome. we've got the Tom Brady Contenders Champ ticket and regular, and we got the Tom Brady SP Authentic. We've got the Drew Brees Contenders ticket. We got LaDainian Tomlinson rookies. We've got Larry Fitzgerald. We've got Aaron Rodgers, Ben Roethlisberger, Adrian Peterson.
That wasn't Roethlisberger. That was Rodgers.
Did I misspeak? Sorry.
You said Ben Roethlisberger twice.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
You said him, but it was Rodgers. Sorry.
Thank you. Aaron Rodgers. And this is for the listeners too who aren't watching. Is that Calvin Johnson?
Yes.
And this is Rob Gronkowski. Again, another Gronk right there.
Kelsey.
We've got Tom Brady Prism. I don't know who this is here in the middle. Is that Mahomes?
Yes, that's his Select XRC.
I don't recognize the Select, but I certainly recognize the Optic and the Prism. We got a couple more Mahomes here in the NT. We've got Brady Kabooms. We got Joe Burrow. We've got Herbert. We've got Josh Allen. I'm proud of myself. I'm recognizing all these players.
Good job, man.
Josh Allen again. Joe Burrow. Who's that again? Name's just escaping me. Lamar Jackson. Thank you. Tiger Woods. We got his Upper Deck base and the SP Authentic and an early auto. We've also got the Josh Allen NT. Then we get in some hockey. These and guys, these hockey, you guys can roast me on the fire sort of thing. These are all my choices. I put these on here, or I shouldn't say that. I suggested them to Adam. I don't know what made it, what didn't, but some of you might not recognize. This is a George Vezina memorabilia card that took the hockey world by storm in the year 2000. We've got the dual SPX winning combos of Gretzky and Crosby, Young Guns, Crosby and Ovechkin, the Cup, Crosby and Ovechkin, the PMG Green, Wayne Gretzky, which so far is the only one of these I own. We've got the McDavid Young Guns. We've got the McDavid, the Cup, the Bedard Young Guns. So that was what I came up with, hockey, guys. And if I missed anything, Josh is shaking it. Josh, what did I miss there, buddy?
You left off the greatest American player of all time on this list. I would put Patrick Kane Future Watch Auto as opposed to that green Wayne Gretzky card, but that's all I got.
You know what? He could be right. He could be right that Patrick Kane.
Let's add it. I mean, again, like let's add it. I'm thrilled to add it. Good call, Josh.
Yeah, the green may not be iconic. To me, it is, but maybe it's not to other people. So if it comes, I'm cool with it coming off. I don't have any skin in this game. I don't think any of us really have any skin in this game, to be honest. We have some F1. We have Lewis Hamilton and we have Max Verstappen. They're Topps Chrome cards. And then we get into soccer. We've got Ronaldo. We've got Messi. We got another Messi. We've got another Ronaldo, another Messi. And guys, if you're listening, you will be able to see these cards. You know, I will share the link with the audience elsewhere. We got some Erling Haaland. We've got Mbappe. We got another Messi. Is this, what's his name? The Lamine Yamal is making the list. Onto tennis. We've got Serena. We've got Federer. We've got Nadal. We've got Djokovic. We've got Alcaraz, however you say it. And then we get into women's basketball. I don't recognize any of these ladies. Adam, who do we have here?
Sue Bird, Diana Taurasi, Candace Parker, Maya Moore, Brianna Stewart, and Asia Wilson. Oh, and Ionesco, and then the Caitlin.
And then the Caitlin. We got Stone Cold Steve Austin. We've got, who's this? John Cena?
I can't remember. Sorry.
It's John Cena. We've got Hulk Hogan, Precious Metal Gems, because his cards are really from the 90s, or the 80s, I should say. His key cards are from the 80s, but this is from the 2000s. We've got a Vince McMahon. We've got The Rock. I'm not sure who this is here, Adam. Another wrestler.
I don't remember.
It's
Roman
okay.
Reigns. Roman
Reigns.
Yeah.
And then we got UFC. Conor McGregor, John Jones, Nurmagomedov.
Good luck.
And what's his name again? McGregor. So I think most of the sports are represented here, Adam. And listen, I'd love to say great job. on the compilation of this list, how many spots are there on here? Did we just go through 130 or so?
It's currently 128. But there's 2 cards that I had added late by some people who I was soliciting for questions. One was the Prism card that has both Ronaldo and Messi on it. You guys remember that one? The Prism duel, where it's like cut down the diagonal line down the middle. And then the other one was actually mentioned in the chat here early on. It was the first big Project 2020 card, the Griffey. And so I personally, like, when I saw those, I sort of just take my own, like, does that make sense to be on this list? I think both of those ought to be on the list. So that will make it 130.
I just want a funny comment here from Christina. She says, you forgot, in quotes, you forgot my favorite player, Chicago guy. But it's fair. I think it's fair. And then, Ziggy here says, I like this, but there's too many. And to that, Ziggy, I just say, you can start your own project if you want, right? Like,
it's so hard.
It's so hard.
It's hard. I don't like, again, the risk is that we don't include the cards. And I know that some people are going to be like, this is too many, I don't want to do it. And I understand. If you don't want to do the ranking, then just don't do it. But
yeah.
But if we leave off a card that somebody's like, no, I really think you got this wrong, then I'm going to feel like we sort of did a disservice to it.
All right, Joe, what are you thinking as you see this list of players? And Adam, let's just hear from Joe. What do you think when you see the list?
I mean, I'm a basketball guy, and I'll just say that I'd be curious what the next Jokic card up would be, because he's already in my top 10, and I think he deserves more than just one
card.
Yeah. One card in the list, and I would say that Curry too probably deserves more than two. I think, but that's that's just broad strokes. I mean, I understand it's difficult, and I understand but if Mahomes is getting 6, 7, Jokic and Curry deserve more than 1 or 2, in my humble opinion.
And
great comment.
Listen, I've been talking to Adam about this for weeks now, and helped him in this project. And I'm mostly a hockey guy. And I mean, Adam, I don't feel like I really pressured you to add more hockey or anything. I just, I just hope that hockey people actually vote on this list. We have producer Louie here from the Hockey Cards Gong Show podcast. They have a huge hockey audience. Louie, you got to help me, Louie. We got to make sure that the hockey people are coming out and representing, so we can secure at least, like, I have fear that that hockey doesn't get a single spot on that list. So,
hey, we put it in the logo though, Jeremy. We got the Crosby in the logo. I'm interested. That question about Jokic, obviously, I'm super sensitive to this. I would ask the guy here who has the best Jokic card in the whole world to opine. Chris, do you have any sense of whether there should be another one, or if you were to put another one, what one you would put on?
Well, yeah, I think Hobby Champs maybe said it well. Jokic might be one of the best player in the league, but he doesn't have iconic cards. I mean, that is the heart of the question. Like, even if you look at, not saying the population reports are any indicator of iconicness necessarily, but he doesn't have any high population cards. Like, I think Ryan from Gemrate once ran a report of how many total cards Jokic has graded. I can't remember if it was his whole catalog or just his rookie year, but it was 15,000. I mean, we have cards on this list. We have there are cards on this list that have one copy that have been, one version of a card has been graded more than 15,000 times. Yeah. So, but that's why, like, as I'm just sitting here thinking about this, like, in the realm of political science, the question that they're always, these professors, these scholars, they're always trying to answer the question of, how do we set up the voting procedures to get the result that we want? It's such a question of empirical study. Honestly, it has been since, like, Kenneth Arrow in, like, the 50s and the 60s. Economists weigh in on this. Like, it's actually so important how these questions get answered. And, like, here's one really simple experiment, or thought experiment, really, that, like, professors will use to illustrate the point. Let's say we have sitting in a room a jar of jelly beans, and it's a big jar and it's full of jelly beans. And the question is, let's say we have all 5 of us in the room looking at this jar. What would be the way that we would get closest to most accurately determining how many jelly beans are in that jar without walking up to it and counting it? Is it better if the 5 of us can just start going, and Joe's like, hey, I think there's 500 in there because, I've seen a similar jar to this once and there was 500 in that. And then Adam's like, dude, no way, there's 2,000. There are 2,000 jelly beans in this jar for sure. And we sort of deliberate and we go back and forth. I mean, Josh Adams knows all about this because this is about the theory of the jury box, about how do people deliberate ideas when they're allowed to democratically discuss them. So that's one way, is like we can debate and we can argue with each other. The other way is that we all just look at the jelly bean jar and then we retreat to our own corner. We write down a number on the piece of paper. We don't talk about it at all. We take the piece of paper, we look what everybody wrote, we take the average of what everybody wrote, we just go with that, and then we're done. And I think for this experiment in particular, I'm kind of partial to the second way. I'm kind of partial to, if we start debating and stuff, we're going to end up like creating consensuses that might not really be there. And it might be a better approach if like I just sort of retreat to my corner and produce what I think other people think is iconic, or what is iconic. That is sort of the nature of what's iconic. That's my thoughts here on the Jokic topic, on this whole topic, is like what method of voting, what method of evaluating is going to get us to the result. Because you can do it in slightly different ways and get really different results.
So I loved all that. I loved it. I think I want to just add real quick. When we did the one just for basketball and we just left it open, again, we just let everybody in the world sort of say whatever they thought, whatever cards they wanted to pick, they got to pick the card. And then it was my job to somehow to figure out how to average all that, which was total chaos. But when we did that, we ended up with 8 LeBron cards on the top 25. And we ended up with, I think it was like 4 or 5 players had 2 cards. Steph had 2, Kobe had 2, Giannis had 2, Luka had 2, maybe a couple more. And then everybody else had 1 card on the list. And I just like, there are people who were like, you should have had more than that. And I was just like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, I don't know. Like, as somebody who, like, I don't dislike LeBron, but it's not like I wanted to see LeBron on the list so many times, but like, he just ended up that way. And so your idea, I love your 2 examples. The idea, and I totally agree, let people say what they think and don't let them be biased. And I appreciate you even saying that as I was sort of mentioning the other Jokic, because again, I don't want to introduce that. I don't want us to introduce it. I don't want anyone to say, hey, this will be number 1 or this has to be on the top 25. Because if it's not on your list, then don't put it on there. Like, put it on there if you think it should be on there. And I know I've said this like 17 times already, but like, let's just see where it falls. And then hopefully it'll be interesting. And if it's not, people are gonna be like, oh, this sucks, whatever. But I think I'm interested to see where it lands and just to see what other people think. I'm honestly interested to see all of your, all of your lists and yeah, like I said, go from there.
So I want to just bring up a comment here. Linda's first says, it's a popularity contest and the most popular players and cards will end up on top. Isn't that exactly what this is though, Adam? Or sort of exact is a very strong and precise word. Is it exactly a popularity contest? Like iconic, we go back to the definition. It kind of does say, widely recognized, that sort of means popular. Admired means popular, often symbolizing a particular era, group, or concept. Kind of means popular.
So I think so. I would add, I think there's something just a little bit different to it in the terms of the card, because there are cards that you may not find. You're basically saying, it's like Chris said earlier, you're saying what you think the world thinks is popular. Like that's because as soon as you introduce this idea of like, just pick what you think is popular, like it's not exactly that. It's like, pick what you believe that the world thinks is iconic about, because that's what iconic is. It's not what you think. It's what the world thinks. That makes sense.
Right. So I want to go back to Joe's mention of Nikola Jokic, because to me, I don't think Jokic has a single iconic card. He's just not that popular. He's a great player. I can draw a parallel to hockey. Nikita Kucherov. How many out there of you have heard of Nikita Kucherov? Well, I'm guessing not a lot if you don't follow hockey, yet he might be the best player in the NHL, Connor McDavid included. He's a top 5 player. Some days or months, he's number 1 in the world. You guys haven't even heard of him. I guarantee you he has no iconic cards. And I'm sure there are players like that in other sports. I kind of think that he's kind of the Nikola Jokic of the NBA. I'm sure there are guys like that. Now, that's the thing that we have to overcome, because Joe is going with, who's the best player in the NBA for the past 3 years? It might be Nikola Jokic, but does that translate to iconic cards, Adam? What do you like? Does it or does it not? That's a really important. I think this is a good forum for you to speak to that, because I think it's very important.
It doesn't. It has nothing to do with it. We look at the 90s. There are guys that are super iconic from the 90s who are not. They're just not like the great players. Is Penny Hardaway in the Hall of Fame? I don't think he is. I know he's not on any of the top 50 or top 75 lists, but he, in his commercials and everything, like he is an iconic basketball player. So this is something we talk about a lot, right? It's not about even like the accolades. It's about how we see these things, and it's not just how we see the player. That's part of it, I think, but it's in this case, it's how we see the card. And again, that's why there's no description below of what the card is. It matters what the card, like when you see it, if you don't, and somebody said this, like if we see it and we don't know what it is off the top of our heads, it's probably not a good sign in terms of whether it's iconic, right? We better know what it is off the top of our heads, even though like I may not be a hockey guy. Like I should look at it and immediately recognize it for me to actually end up putting it on the list.
Right. Okay. I want to just address a couple comments that we've had here. Stone Collector has been begging people to tell him what's included. So you must have come, Stone Collector must have come after we showed everything included. So you can always rewind, but there's a preset list of cards that are from the year 2000 to 2025. That is what is included. I'm not going to run through them again, but the link to answer the survey, everyone can do it, will be made available. You have to follow Adam to get it for sure, but I'm sure we'll be talking about it here again. And USMNT says numbered cards to 100 or less can't be iconic, in my opinion. That's the key, because that's only one opinion. They aren't popular enough. The nice thing, though, about this is that parallels are included with the main card as well. So you know, yeah, maybe a parallel out of 100 isn't as iconic as the silver prism, but they're all grouped as one. So we're not differentiating that way. I think I really like that aspect or that approach that Adam took with compiling this. Josh, what do you want to say?
Oh, I was just thinking. No, I would do.
You just muted yourself mid-sentence.
It's late. All right. No, I would disagree that cards 100 or less can't be iconic. I mean, the Honus Wagner card is an iconic card in the hobby, and there's like 50 of them. Anyway, yeah. Sorry, that was my.
No, hey, listen. I mean, these are opinions, and you know, you're all entitled to them. Go ahead, Adam.
Real quick. The question about how to put these cards together is really hard to deal with, because you have to make some assumptions, right? And so one great example of this is that Steph Curry's maybe his biggest card or his second biggest card is his Logoman Auto. Well, that is a variation of his base card. And so we've made the decision that if something is a parallel or a variation, they get the same spot. And some people are like, well, I don't like that because I think of the one of one differently. But like, again, these are hard decisions that we have to make as part of this. So we've combined them and tried to make it clear. That's why in those squares, you've got lots of different cards in some situations, but we did our best with that. And I hope, people can understand, like, if you just put the Steph one of one in one place, and then, would we take like the 2003 LeBron and put like 6 different cards out there? We just don't want to do that. So again, that's the decision that we made.
I'm seeing lots of comments. I agree with the majority here that, yeah, a scarce card can easily make this list. The LeBron RPAs is easily one. Just because there's not a ton of them out there doesn't mean it's not iconic. But an obscure one of one is not an iconic card, or an obscure card out of 100 might not be an iconic card for a great player. There's so many different ways to approach this thing. This is not easy, guy. I think if nothing else, we have to give kudos to Adam for even like we were giving kudos to Aaron earlier, as I think Chris might have said that, for putting yourself out there as a 15-year-old. It takes courage. It takes courage for Adam to put himself out there and do this again. Joe, what do you want to jump in with?
I agree with what you just said. It's tough to be in the pole position that Adam is. I just want to say, now I've thought about it a little bit more, and I recognize, like, okay, yeah, Jokic and Curry, what I would hope for, and I'm like, swinging from the hip here. I'm not being biased. I mean, I am being biased. Jokic should be high. So like if it's just one Jokic card, I expect that Prism Jokic card to be pretty damn high in the overall rankings. And if that's the sort of checks and balances that this system sort of kind of necessitates, because certain cards or certain players, I should say, are not represented because the card companies and or the aesthetics or the representation of the cards that are available for Curry, many other players. I think that's going to be kind of like how we read between the lines, so that like maybe LeBron will be represented multiple times, and yet Curry's representation will be in a place that's appropriate. Jokic's representation will be in a place that's appropriate. So value, like the valuation of where these cards rank, become even more important when you have limited representations.
Well said. Well said. Couple comments here. Bob Boozle said, this list triggers many thought experiments. I can see Hoja's mind moving. It's amazing what you can see on a screen, isn't it? For sure. And then here, so Skeppy, I just want to say, Skeppy, this is a 25 list, and the overall survey contains 130 to choose from. It's not, so don't worry about being 50. It's a 25 list, but the pool to choose from is very broad, so that nobody feels left out and you can get them in. So I think a lot of people haven't seen this whole episode, or maybe just dropped in. So we have to just kind of tolerate that and accommodate it all at the same time. And then Stone Collector says, I think even the Skeens debut patch is iconic, but I'm not sure it will still be in 5 years. I agree with this comment.
Me too.
I agree, Adam. I think the Skeens debut patch is iconic already. Is it top 25 for this quarter century? I'm not going to say one way or another. I don't know how I feel about that, but I think it's an iconic card. It had enough flat. I don't know. I don't remember how media looks at it, but like it's had enough appearances on major news networks and platforms and media that it's become iconic. Like people who don't know sports cards know about that card. That I think is partially what makes something potentially iconic. So, but again, it really just comes down to how you approach it, how you approach what does iconic mean to you? And the survey does include a basic definition up here, guys. When you fill out the survey, make sure you read the instructions, right, Adam?
Yes. What do you think about James's question down there, guys? That was one that I thought of, but I wondered. I'm sensitive to putting too much basketball on here to be transparent. What do you guys think about that?
I don't think it's iconic myself.
Yeah, I think that's a card that falls into that Skeens category, where there's always that risk that right now it does have a level of iconic status to it. But so did the Trae Young 5 years ago,
Right.
and now we, so that there's the tail end of this is always going to be risky.
It's true.
I would add Caitlin Clark cards to the iconic now, but in 5 years going to, the trash bin of history.
And that's sort of one of the interesting things here, guys, is that this is a right now thing. This is not what's iconic 5 years from now. Because you got to think Adam's going to do another one of these in 25 years, maybe sooner. And Adam, this is something that you could renew every 5 years, because iconic isn't permanent. It just isn't. Things change, right? Someone mentioned the Greg Jeffries card earlier as iconic. It was iconic in its time and still might be iconic to some people, but it's not iconic to the majority of the hobby anymore. I don't think if I can, sort of go out on a limb and say majority of the hobby with in that sentence there. So I just think it's a big project here. Stiff Arm Wax is, ironically, the fact that Jokic doesn't have many iconic sports cards is part of what makes his Prism card so iconic. Right. I mean, that makes sense too.
Birthday shout out to Stiff Arm Wax. It's his birthday for one more minute.
Happy birthday. Well, and an hour more where I am. Happy birthday, Steph.
Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday, Stiff Arm Wax. And thank you, Joe, for the musical interlude. That's wonderful. Oh, look at that. I'm currently on Bob Boozle's Christmas list. He says my Christmas card list changes daily. Currently, Jeremy is on it, but I can't guarantee it'll be on there tomorrow. I appreciate that, Bob Boozle. And Stiff Arm Wax in the chat right there. Hobby Champ says iconic to me insinuates staying power. It doesn't. You guys are all nodding, but it doesn't to me. It doesn't insinuate staying power. It's a right now thing.
Can we read the definition again and just see if we get a feel? Because I don't know if I even know how I feel about that.
Being iconic means widely recognized and admired, often symbolizing a particular era, group, or concept. It signifies a person or thing that is influential, representative, and revered. Well, guys, I remember a time when the Fonz represented youth or, 20-year-old sort of thing. I don't think the Fonz is iconic anymore. Some of you guys might not even know who the Fonz is, but the Fonz was iconic at one point in time. Is he still iconic? Not really. Josh? I mean, maybe he is.
He absolutely is. He's an iconic TV character. His jacket is in the Smithsonian. So he's absolutely iconic. He may not be relevant today, but he's iconic. The Honus Wagner card is iconic. It's just not relevant today. The problem with iconic also,
it is relevant today it is relevant today, isn't it? I mean, it's still, everybody knows about it. How is it not relevant? And when it comes up for auction, everyone talks about it.
doesn't mean, but it's not relevant to a collector of modern basketball cards. It's not relevant to a collector of modern hockey cards. It's a well-known thing, doesn't make it relevant. The fact that a Honus Wagner goes for $3 million has no effect on what Jokic cards go for, or not even going to say it, but any other basketball player cards go for. So,
right, but neither does what a Wayne Gretzky rookie card sells for, which came out 70 years later. Has nothing to do with what a Jokic card sells for, and it's relevant today.
Still iconic. Exactly.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, hey, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the Fonz is still iconic. I mean, he's iconic to me, but to the new generation is iconic something that is really kind of pinned to each of our own generations, like where we fall.
Yes, I think so. This is the great example of this is that when we did this list a few years ago, for the whole of the history of the hobby, the David Robinson Hoops rookie made the list, and we all can see it in our minds without even thinking about it. And so it is ultra recognizable. People voted it as being iconic. It's not worth anything. It doesn't change anything about today. It doesn't have like some, even if you added up all the PSA 10s and said, hey, here's the market cap of this thing. Like it doesn't even have that much. I don't want to say it doesn't have value, but it doesn't compare to a lot of other things. But we still think of it because it represents that era.
So, I mean, I'm reading comments. I've got to backtrack my comments on the Fonz and listening to Josh as well. The Fonz is still iconic. He'll always be iconic. You just might not know about him. He just might not be iconic to you.
Can I take a stab, Jeremy, at this Fonz thing?
I mean, yeah, please help me understand my own thoughts better, Chris.
Look, I think I'm going to use. How did we say the name is supposed to be pronounced? Hannes Wagner or Hon?
I think it's actually Hans Wagner. Is
Hans
Hans. It's not even. There's no.
Okay.
It's Hans Wagner. I believe.
Hans Wagner. Okay, I'm gonna use him for an example, and even if I'm not 100% correct, just like let it exist as a metaphor for the Fonz. I'm gonna say Hans Wagner is not an iconic person anymore. I don't think his name is bandied about as being an iconic baseball player, nearly to the extent of Babe Ruth or Willie Mays or these other guys. But the Hans Wagner T206 is an iconic item. So I'm distinguishing, and part of it is because of its market power, that when it comes to market, it's a news item. It renews its relevance every time it sells. And so I'm distinguishing the person from the item. In the same way, I think even if Fonz, because I agree with Adam that it's all about what's in our mind. Iconic is just this sort of measurement of what's in our mind, our sentiments. But and so a person can fade from iconic status, but that Fonz jacket, that could remain iconic if it sold every year and it remained an item that was a figurehead of an entire category. I just want to distinguish the person from the item. I think a person can lose some of their iconic status, but the item that depicts them could maintain it or even increase it.
It's similar to the Jokic discussion, right? The player is worthy. Is the card iconic?
Yeah, that one like inverts it. Yeah, that one like flips it on its head. But I think the player and the item or the person, the item could be two different statuses of iconic.
What do you think, Josh? Because you kind of sent us down this road. Does this all resonate?
Yeah, it makes sense.
Thank you for the elaborate response.
No, I mean it's brevity is the soul of wit. But yeah, no, that's a great answer. You can distinguish the person from the item is 100% true.
You know, you are such a, like, I'm a trained CPA, professional accountant. You know, I had a 25-year career in that world. And I had mentors. I had one wonderful mentor. He's now a Court of Queen's Bench judge here in Canada. And he used to tell me, and I think this is where Josh is coming from. He used to tell me when dealing with the CRA, which is Canada's version of the IRS, it's a Canada Revenue Agency. When dealing with the CRA, he said, only ever answer the questions they are asking and use as few words as possible. Yes, no, that's what you want. That's how you want to answer questions. Don't ever give them information on things they're not asking you for. Like, just answer and that's, I think it's somewhat of a legal approach too, Josh, is when you're especially when you're being questioned on the stand, if you're a good witness, a well-trained witness, you're only going to answer the questions that you are being asked, and you're not going to elaborate just for the sake of discussion. Is that right?
That's 100% right.
Yeah. Just yes and no. That's right. Hilarious. All right.
I got a quick little interjection here, not in any significant way, but just, because language and dictionary definitions are always contextual, right? And so iconic, we're looking at the dictionary definition of iconic, but let's think about iconic in relation to sports and sports cards, right? And the contemporary moments that we've lived through, which are very absolutely like episodic, if you will, like they're passing. They're not necessarily sustained. We will look back 50 years from now and have a different perspective. Let's all agree on that. Let's agree that what we see now is going to be different than what we see in a historical context. But like iconic in the realm of sports in 2025, 2015, 2005, Messi is a big part of this list, and I think that's a kind of fascinating thing. And the GOATs that were kind of reckoning, Brady, LeBron, Curry, these guys, there's limitations with regards to their cards, but as a fan, as a sports card collector, it's like I want to see greatness rewarded, and that's just like I'm going to sort of push through the issues, and I'm going to probably want to prioritize like who has been the most important sports figures. And that's going to actually supersede the cards. So that's my perspective. Not that it's the right perspective. I know we're not trying to lend biased or create anything that is telling anybody else what to do. But I think that the GOAT conversation is something we're all familiar with, and in the context of iconic in these 25 years. That's how I would prioritize my list. I'll go through the process, and I'm looking forward to it, but I'm going to really, kind of hinge my responses and my votes, my precious, votes, to what makes sense to my mind of who are the most it's tricky. I get it. It's tricky. Like with the issues, with the representations, you've got Prism Select, you've got, mega cracks, you've got, all kinds of, Serena Williams, like, sure. I want to shed light on the idea of iconic within the sports world and iconic within the card world is going to necessarily shine light on who we find are the most compelling figures. So, the Fonz jacket or the Fonz, I'm going with, the importance of the person over the actual asset.
So okay, we got to get Adam's response to that. And I want to bring up a comment. Linda's first says, I disagree with that. It's about the cards. So the cards should be paramount, not the players. And this comes down to the instructions that are given on the survey. Because based on what you're saying, Joe, you're going to, if it's about the cards, you're going to not follow the instructions. You're going to put players more paramount than the card itself. And then to Adam, I say, you got to be ready for that, Adam. That's probably going to happen. Is this where you try to separate the experts from the overall community, or is this or not? I mean, like, does Joe saying that, does that preclude him from being able to get an expert spot on that list because he's not going to follow the instructions that you want? Or is that allowed? Like, are you okay with that? Because this isn't Adam's list. Joe's entitled to his vote. However he comes up with it, he's entitled to his vote.
Yeah. However Joe thinks about that, I would say it doesn't determine whether he gets to be an expert or whatever. We have a list already of people who have expertise around several different verticals within the hobby. And that's really key to this. We don't want people to be experts who only know one thing really well. And that's weird because it turns out a lot of us are really good at knowing, one thing really well. But some of us have a broader sense, right? Josh Adams has a good sense of a lot of different things in the hobby, right? And so he would be a perfect person to be an expert because he's going to opine on hockey and baseball and basketball and maybe some other things. And so but that doesn't mean that Joe wouldn't be. Like, I don't know. Like, these are hard, again, these are hard things to figure out, but we need to find experts who are well-versed in lots of different things, but how many people really know everything about the different areas? So again, that's a hard thing for us to do. We're doing the best that we can. And to incent those people to do a good job, we're saying, hey, your list is going to be made public. So you've got to consider it. Like, you don't want to go out there and be like, I'm going to put in 25 baseball cards, because then people are going to be like, what were you doing being an expert? Like, that was wrong. You shouldn't have done that. So again, we're taking the lessons that we learned in previous things. We're applying it to now what the best way is to do it. And like Joe, other people feel, I think, things like, hey, a given player should only be on this list once or twice at the most. I have a good friend who believes that. And I'm sort of like, I don't think that's necessarily true. I think the card needs to just be iconic. And if one player, like, look at basketball from the 90s, right? Jordan is the list. Like, there's one or two other cards. Jordan's the list. And is that wrong? No. Like, because people think that, like, just because he's on the list more than once, like, I don't care. Like, it doesn't matter if he's on the list more than once. The question is, what's more iconic? But somebody might be like say, no, I just think it should be on there once or twice. The great thing is, because we're pulling in all of these different votes. If you only vote for one card or one person on your ballot, other people might do the same, but they might pick another card. And I think that, again, the law of large numbers, I think, helps us there. And I'm thinking about Josh's comment about brevity, and I'm already like, Adam, you're the worst person at being brief in the whole freaking hobby. So Josh, forgive me for that, because I know I'm terrible at it.
Okay, Adam, great stuff. A couple of comments here. First of all, this is relevant. Christina says, who is we? Who's working on this, Adam, and making this decision? So can you address that?
That's a good question, Christina. It's not a lot of us, right? It's just the two of us in the end who will look at the numbers are me and Ryan from GemRate. And that's it. When I say we, that's it.
Thank you for that, Adam. Billy said, Sports Cards Hall of Fame. Why doesn't one exist? And I can tell you that there have been, like, even Beckett Magazine has done within each sport kind of a Hall of Fame list of cards. I know they did it in hockey a couple times. It really depends on the editor at the time at the magazine. Not that anyone reads that magazine anymore. I don't think many people do, but I don't even know if they'd be the people to do it anymore. Maybe they would, maybe they wouldn't. But in any event, it's a great question, because a baseball card or a sports card Hall of Fame would be pretty awesome. And I think, Adam, you know, like even the original, like the 2000, the 25 and 25 list, probably not Hall of Fame eligible yet. Some of them would be. How long do you have to be in existence for? But the cards in many of the cards in this iconic 100 are, you know, especially the first 50 or whatever, are likely the first Hall of Fame class for the Sports Card Hall of Fame. And then Bob Boozle says, guys, remember, the power of friendship is stronger than disagreements over iconic cards. That is very important. This is a lot of this that Adam is doing is really, you know, creating content, creating discourse, discussions. Like it's really something to do, right, Adam? Like it's a fun thing to do. It's fun.
Yeah, that's honestly, that's the biggest benefit of it to me, is that I get to say, okay, I get to be the one who unveils the list, counting down. And that's a great thing for me and for, you know, for people seeing my content and stuff like that. So that's the thing that I get out of it. But again, I realize that people will hold it to a big standard. And so that's why I have this nervousness around not getting the right cards on the list. I just want to ensure that we get the right ones.
Christine asked another question. She said, you had said, Adam, we may publish your list. What are the privacy policies on publishing people's lists with their names?
So we're only going to do that for the experts, Christina, and that will be very clear on the survey. People will read it and they'll say, oh, and again, that might prevent some people from wanting to do it. And I get that. That's totally fine. For other people, for other individuals, I don't anticipate that we'll be doing that. I also don't think we're going to do anything. We won't be doing anything where it's like, hey, look what Chris did on his list. He said this. We're not going to do anything like that. We're going to include it in the book at the end, assuming we do the book in it. And again, that's actually sort of a TBD. Who knows if we'll have the ability to create it or if there will be a demand for it. You know, I'm sort of we're just doing this. I'm not going to make when we did it with PWCC, there was a budget, right? I don't have a ton of money to just go print a book and just give it out to people. So
I'll buy a copy.
Well, depending on how much it is, right? If it's $40, sure. But if it's $1,000 a copy or whatever,
I'll pay 42. $42. No problem.
So
I love it. I love it. I've got a hobby bookshelf. So more.
Christina's question is a really good one, though. Everybody who is doing the expert survey is going to know that is part of it.
There you go. Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Adam, anything else on the survey? Why don't we do this? Why don't we just I'll just scroll through the cards in it again so people who have joined late can see. And every square is one option where you see multiple cards. Those are parallels and they are grouped in as one. So I'm going to scroll through pretty quick here. So keep your eye. You guys can rewind this later yourselves. But these are all the cards that Adam has put on this list after consulting with people he deems to be proficient in each of these different categories of sports cards.
And as you go through that, let me just add again, if there is a card that is not on this list, please, that you believe is a top 25 most iconic card of the century so far, please tell me, because our big risk is that we'll miss adding something that we ought to have. We've asked experts in each of these verticals, and I think we've done a really good job. And I think we've probably included too many cards, and there's probably some cards on here that have no chance of making it. But everybody had a really strong reason, and these are people who know the hobby really well. So I feel good about them, but that doesn't mean that we didn't miss something. So again, if you think we missed something, please let us know.
Awesome. All right. Well, I'm looking forward to filling out my survey. I want to call it a ballot, but this is a survey. I look forward to filling out my survey, and I hope that the Sports Cards Live community, listeners, viewers, I hope you guys fill it out too, and take 10, 15 minutes to whatever it takes to look at this list and come up with your 25. And please take it seriously. If you heard of it through here, I ask you to take it seriously, put some serious thought into it. And because I want to buy a book that means something at the end of all this. I hope there is a book, and I want that book to be meaningful and not just kind of a joke of a list. You know, I want it to be, I want to look at it and I want to say, I don't love the results because I don't agree with everything, but I respect it. And it's probably, it's 1,000 people versus 3. So there's going to be more of a, you know, a representation of the overall community.
Just to highlight that real quick. You and I both voted on the iconic 100 once upon a time. And I think you and I both voted the same card as number 1, and it ended up being number 3. Didn't you vote for the Wagner as number 1?
I can't remember, Adam. You'd have to look at the data and tell. I don't remember.
I voted the Wagner number 1. I remember Josh actually messaged me when he saw. I can't remember exactly what you said, Josh, but you the Babe Ruth 1914 card. I remember you had a really strong opinion on that. I don't remember what it was, if you thought it was too low or too high, but I remember you were like, this is wrong. And I was like, I'm sorry, Josh. Do you remember what your thoughts on that were?
That's an awesome card. The 1914 Baltimore News should be probably the top 3 iconic cards of all time.
Yet nobody knows what it looks like. So
see, this is just it.
Healthy debate.
Healthy
debate among friends, Josh. Healthy debate among friends.
Two of the smartest people I know in the hobby right here. Total disagreement. I love that. I love that part about this. I think it's awesome.
And that's an element of voting with rankings, right? Because we have certain power to votes. It's not just like either or. It's sort of,
that's right,
you know, your elevation of something. And that was my only point, is that as a person with biases and proclivities in my collecting and sensibilities around sports, I'm probably going to prioritize certain players. It's not as if I can't be objective.
That's right.
In some areas, but I'm probably going to push in a little bit more in other areas because I'm a fan. And the root of the word fan is fanatical.
And you know what, Joe? I think, you know what, this is, you can vote how you want. Like, you know, like you can. I support any vote you put in there, you know, as long as you're taking it seriously and you know, you say what you vote with your heart. You vote with your heart and your head. I think you got to find. That's how I'm gonna approach it. And I really quickly, DS, you're all good, DS. For some reason, sometimes I can't pick up on sarcasm in the chat, but DS, I'm picking up on yours. You're all good, bud. You are not fired at all.
I know. Hey, real quick, Jeremy. I know we're late and everybody probably needs to go, but I wanted to ask you guys one last question, and just if you want to respond, that's great. But if you don't, I get it. So I want to talk about the point system. Can I do that real quick?
Yeah, I just got a Bob Boozle's comments hilarious. You have the right to vote who you want to for, but it will be used against you in the chat. Okay, Adam, sorry, go ahead, please.
Okay, and I know, again, I'll make this quick. So think about it from the perspective of everyone sending in a rank list. In order to give every card that you choose value, every card, if every card that you pick on your survey gets an immediate 10 points. Then, based on where you put the card in your ranking from 1 to 25, you get additional points. Card number 1 gets 25 more points. Card number 25 gets 1 more point. So if you were to say, I put a card number 25, it gets 11 points total. If you put card number 1, it gets, 35 points total. And then again, it's just inverting that. But I think there might be some sort of conversation around like whether 10 is appropriate. That's what we determined, but we haven't finalized it yet. And so I think 10 is right, because I think each thing should get points for making it. I don't think it should just get 1. I think that's wrong. That feels bad to me. But I wonder if you guys have any sense of that. Just if you have any other thoughts on that, I'd love to hear it.
I personally do not have any thoughts on that, and assigning a point total to each card where they rank. I think I have a feeling in your chatting with Ryan from GemRate, who's probably smarter. I'm not going to talk about you guys being smart, but he's definitely smarter than me. I'm sure he has a good reason, or you guys have talked that through. So I have no reason to question that. As long as card number 1 gets more points than card number 2, and so on and so forth, I think you're on the right track. So I'm okay, personally.
Yeah, I'll make an observation, not whether one way is better than the other, but if you do it with the 10 points, so like any card that makes it gets elevated to 10, but every card after it gets elevated just gets 1 incremental point more. The first place card will have 35 points, and the last place card on that person's list will have 11. And so in that instance, the first place card will be 3.18 times better in terms of points awarded than the last place card. But if you do it on a 1 to 25 scale, then the first place card gets 25 and the last place card gets 1. And then it's a 25 times multiplier. The first card is rewarded 25 times more. So like the gap in how these cards relate to each other in the ranking is largely influenced by how much the floor is raised. But like one way maybe to accommodate for that would be like increase everything proportionately, so that, you know, if just making it gets you 10, then you know, getting to first gets you all the way to 200. I mean, that sounds crazy. I don't know. I don't know the answer to this, but it did occur to me that that the multiplier diminishes significantly from the top ranked card to the lowest ranked card. I
think we need Dr. Beckett to opine on this, because he's a statistician and he'll understand what that really means. Chris coming up with those ratios though is very important. That we are sort of diminishing the number one vote a little bit, or even a lot, almost by a factor of 8.
Which
Chris's math,
which is very deliberate, because
that's what I was going to ask.
What we don't want, you guys can see what we don't want. We don't want somebody coming in and being like, I'm going to go vote for and I'm not going to say a card because I don't want to influence anybody, but I don't want anyone to come in and vote for a card and then have that thing really like crush it because of their couple of votes, or their and their buddies' couple of votes. This is the best thing. Ryan and I talked through it. This is the best thing that we could come up with. I feel pretty good about it, but I wanted you guys to understand it, because it's like, oh, that evens it out a little bit.
Stiff Arm Wax makes a very, very important observation, saying the Hobby Pope's vote should be worth at least double an expert's bare minimum. Yes, it should be. Billy Caitlin Clark is on the list. Yeah. Okay, guys, listen, I think we can start to wrap up. To Chris Ho, first of all, Adam, thank you for doing the survey in the first place. I can't wait to go through the exercise of filling out the survey. So thank you for that, and for kind of announcing it really here for the first time.
I'm gonna jump now, Jeremy.
Go ahead.
Thank you.
Good
and
night,
guys. It was great to see you guys. I hope you guys have a good night.
Thank you, Adam. Thank you. Josh coming on towards the end and hanging out. Always a pleasure to have you. I thought we were going to lose Joe earlier on, so we didn't, and that's totally cool. We got a full party here, which is a lot of fun. So, but I want to thank you, Josh, also for coming on. Chris, as always. Joe, as always. The chat for sure, as always, as well. But I want to say to you, Chris, usually you come with a topic. You didn't get that opportunity tonight, but I'm curious, did you have one? And maybe you can tease us for next week.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I definitely could. My first topic was going to be, how many cards is the 1980 Topps Bird Dr. J Magic? That was my first question.
Yeah. And you know what? We kind of have to do this one with Josh, because Josh and I in a chat, we had opposing views on this one. But you know what? I have a new thought to both of you on that. And I think it's both. It's one card and it's 3 cards. Those are my thoughts. We're talking about the 1980, as Chris said, the 1980 Topps basketball card featuring Michael Jordan. It's actually right there, painted on my wall. It's the Magic Johnson, Larry Bird rookie with Dr. Irving in the middle. And is it 1 card or 3 cards? Honestly, I think it's 3 cards first, but I think it's also 1 card as well, because it just fits those measurements. I had said in the chat, well, an uncut sheet, is an uncut sheet 1 card, or is it 132 cards, or however many are on the sheet? To which Josh said, that's a completely different thing. It's not a card, it's an uncut sheet. Well, this is this Magic Johnson Larry Bird card is an uncut card. It's like an uncut sheet. It's just a smaller uncut sheet. Josh?
If it didn't have perforations, would you have a different opinion of it? And I have a second part to that question.
If there were lines indicating where to cut?
If there were just lines, if there weren't perforations, would it change your mind?
No.
Okay. Do you think the 1934 Gaudy 4-in-1 Babe Ruth card is 4 cards or 1 card?
I'd have to see the front and back of it.
It's got lines and not perforations. So
And does it have 4 different numbers in the overall set?
it does not. It is 1 card. It
And
is
it's
1
one
number
card.
for that card.
Then to me that the numbers are super important to me.
Yeah. That's like the biggest issue.
That's
I
why
have.
that's why, Josh, listen, I hear what you're saying and I appreciate it. I think it's both. I think it's 3 cards and I think it's 1 card. Now, Chris, can 3 cards and 1 card exist at the same time? A very existential question, but I don't know.
Why not?
I mean,
Why not?
Kierkegaard would say yes.
what do you think, Chris? You got.
I'm undecided. No, I'm undecided. I lean 3. I lean 3, but why can't we say this? Why can't we say, well, look, the card has 3 different card numbers, but we can combine them to form 1 super number. So the card just has a really weirdly placed 1 super number, and then it's just 1 card with 1 giant card number.
I said, it's 3 cards and it's 1 card. I can see it both ways, and it's a fun discussion. We will maybe revisit it again next week, guys. So we're 3.5 hours. This is longer than usual. I'm so happy Joe got to stay the whole time. He's got a buddy over. They're hanging out there, right? It's good times. Rico's in the house too. All right, guys, we're gonna wrap up though. So thank you again, chat. You guys killed it as always. Appreciate y'all being here, especially sticking out for so long here. Joe, thanks for staying the whole distance. I appreciate that. Josh, good to see you as always, my friend. Same to you, Chris, of course. Carvin Chung, the final comment says, is the full set of every different card, which means there are 2 mini bird cards or just full set of mini. Sorry, Carv, I can't make sense of that right now. It's too late for me. It's too late. We're getting too many comments. We'll come back to it, guys, next week. Bring your comments back next week. But we're gonna end it. I'll be back on the show here. I'll be back on the channel tomorrow for the Fanatics Collect Weekly show. Lots of great cards we'll be talking about and looking at. And then Monday is an episode of the Fund Your Card Show with Mark Sadov, founder of Fund Your Cards, guys. You can listen to this on podcast, Apple, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcast. Please do. We are now splitting it up into 5 episodes, so not one big 3.5 hour long show. Take that divided by 5. You can consume it daily and get your fix that way. So thank you, everybody, for joining. Guys, say goodbye, and then we'll end it.
Great show as usual, Jeremy.
Oh, thank you, Chris. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
All right, guys. It is still where I am, May the 24th, 2025. And this episode of Sports Cards Live is now over. Do it, Josh.
Over.
And good night, everybody.